teacher who's appeared to us today, Joe Stumpf, a master trainer. Let's give him an absolute wonderful exit hello.
Thank you. Good. All right. Thank you. Woo! Have you ever been blessed? How about have you ever been blessed with an insight that gave you the exact right words at the exact right moment? Can you remember a time when you were just given the right words just perfectly? Well, I got on the plane in San Diego, that's where I'm from, and I left last night. And the Southwest Airlines flew from San Diego to El Paso, here to Dallas. And so when I got on the plane, first class is you pay $20 and you get an extra, you pick your seat first. So I get on the plane and I go right to my favorite seat, which is which seat? The exit row. And no kidding, the stewardess is standing in the exit row. You know how that's the big one with all the leg room? She's standing there, and I go right up to her and go, "You're in my seat." And she goes, "Oh, the exit seat is for very special people." I said, "Tell me more about that." She said, "If you're going to sit in the exit seat, you have to be a leader. You have to be responsible for everything that happens around you. You have to be the type of person who cares more about other people than yourself in case there's an emergency." And I said, "That's me." She goes, "You look like an exit person." I went, "Yes." And I said, "Thank you, God. I've been blessed with the perfect words at the perfect moment as I got here." And I get a chance to travel around the country and do a lot of training and coaching. And last night, I came into the hotel last night, and I saw you guys milling around a bit. And there's just a really beautiful, high-frequency energy to this group of individual people. Would you agree with that? It's really remarkable. And if you've worked in another real estate organization, nothing disrespectful for them, but it's very rare that you find a group of people who all have that real clear mission, and that is that you get everything else you want in life. You get everything you want in life if you just help other people get it. Would you agree with that? Yes. And it feels to me that that's where you guys stand. You stand firmly planted in, let me help my fellow human being get what they want, and I know I'll be taken care of. And it's an honor and it's a privilege to be here with you for the next, we've got quite a bit of time together. We've got several hours together where I get to share with you some of the things that I've been blessed with over the last 20 years and some of the language skills that I've developed. And I'm so excited that I get to be with you. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm very, very grateful for that. And I want to thank everyone from the Exit organization for making that possible. So just with the show of hands, how many of you believe the next 10 years are going to be better than the last 10 years? Yeah, isn't that exciting? Isn't that the business we're all really in? We're in the business of making people's futures bigger than their past. That's my business. I'm in the business of making your future bigger than your past. As a matter of fact, my income depends on you having a better future than your past. I have a very vested interest in you having a bigger future than your past. And that's what Exit's all about. They're all about you having a bigger future than your past. And when you showed the website, I was just amazed at that, because great technology has the ability to make people's future better. And when a client comes to that website, a buyer, seller, and they come to that website, even another real estate agent, they come to the website, they find the most valuable thing. Them. Not you, them. See, if I can go to a website and find me, that's the value to me. And when I was looking at that, I go, that is going to make your future so much bigger, so much more powerful. And that tool, just that alone right there, is another example of a really great cutting-edge way to communicate to people in a very profound way. And that's what this day is going to be all about. This day is going to be about, or this afternoon is going to be about communication skills. And I have a master's practitioner in neurolinguistics. Now, I'm not going to say that word very often, neurolinguistics. Neuro, brain, language, the way that words affect the nervous system. But would you all agree that when we hear words, it creates a feeling, the feeling creates a behavior? Say yes? Okay, so I say yes, you feel like saying it or not. And if you felt like it, you said it, so it produced a behavior. And so what I've been looking at is how to take these words, because you know all the words. I'm going to share with you what I call our magic words today. And they're words you already know. They're words you use every day. All I'm going to help you do is put them in the right combinations in order to create the ultimate outcome, which is what you want whatever that person to do next. And one of the great skills that you're going to get today, and people who've sat in this workshop have told me, is that they've learned how to inspire people to take action. And I believe in the next 10 years, the person who knows how to get people to take action is the person who will have the biggest future. And how many of you ever worked with a buyer or a seller, or even another real estate agent when you're sharing them the opportunities at exit? You just want to say, I want you to take action. I want you to move. No more hesitating, no more delaying. It's time to act. How many of you have ever had that? Yeah. And so what I'm going to suggest today as we look at some of the skills today is language is what makes people act. And if you have the right words at the right time and the right combination, you can get people to act in the direction that is in their best interest always. Everything that we're going to share with you today is always moving people in the interest and in the direction that is always in their best interest. So we're going to work on two things today. Do you have something to take notes on? I gave you a handout, or there is a packet you have. I encourage you want to write some things down, because this will be as much as a speech as much as a training too. So I really want to give to you something that you will be able to use in the next 7 days to go out and get a minimum of 2 referrals. Now, that's minimum. I've been working with people getting 15, 18 in a week. Some of these folks up here from a local company in San Diego where I'm from, we went out and shot some video there, and they're all getting 3 and 4 referrals. So I know that for each one of you that choose to take this on, you choose to work this program, that a minimum of 2 referrals in the next 7 days if you choose to do that. So how many of you like to produce that outcome? All in favor of doing that? Okay, would you give the person next to you a high five and say, I'm in, I'm going to play full out, 100%? Yeah. Good. So a couple things we'll work on is, first of all, the notion that your business has 2 components to it. And this is what I've noticed over the last 25 years. I've noticed that a real estate agent who comes into the business has 2 responsibilities. Number 1 is build something that's going to last, and at the same time feed your family today. Say yes? I mean, that's the challenge. How do I build systems and structure? How do I build organization and team? How do I build something that's going to weather any economy, something that's going to sustain 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 transactions a month, no matter what? But right now, I need to eat something. So one business is a marathon, and then one business is more of a sprint. And the sprint has to go out and get something right now. The marathon is building something for the long run. Now, some of you are familiar with what a marathon body looks like. Think in your memory of the images of marathon runners, like the Boston Marathon or the Toronto Marathon or the New York Marathon. Think of the people who cross the finish line first. What is their physique? Okay, now look at the other physique. It's the physique of the sprinter. Think back to the Olympics and the 100-yard dash and the 40-yard dash. What was the physique of that particular athlete? Because they're totally different physiques. Say yes? Yeah. One is, and just check in with the person next to you to find out if they're a marathon runner or a sprinter. Just look at their body. Just check in with them. Who are you sitting next to? Okay. How many of you are sitting next to a walker? All right. Here's for all of our walkers. There you go. Yeah. So we're clearly, I mean, it's clearly 2 different training programs, 2 different diets, 2 different sets of rituals and regimes. I mean, it's a different lifestyle if you're going to build a marathon versus if you're going to run a sprint. And that is the challenge for business, is how do we do that? And the beautiful thing about being aligned with Exit is they're in it for the long run. So what they can do is build support behind the scenes so you can take time and go sprint. To put all that technology together, that's not a sprint, that's a marathon. That's looking at the long haul to this. But what gives you the freedom to do is go out and get something done today. And so I'm going to work with you mostly today. I'm going to say about 70% of my conversation is going to be based on sprint. So I'm going to ask you to put your muscular physique on right now. That really, quick burst of energy. And we're going to go out there and we're going to get 2 great referrals in the next 7 days. But also at the same time, the capacity to hold the paradox that I'm also building something that has to last a long time. So let me just give you a view of what that would look like. This is what we call is our marathon. This is our business development system. Every business has these 3 components. We're looking up at the screen right now. And the first component is the before unit. The second component is the during unit. And the third component is the after unit. So if you could see your business in those 3 elements, before, during, and after. Before, during, and after. Could you all say that? Yeah. Now let's look at that part of the business called before. Before is where you go out and you generate a lead. And then you convert the lead to an appointment. And that personality style is a hunter type of mentality. I got to go out and get a lead, get it. And then I got to convert it to an appointment. So I'm hunting for business. So how many of you see yourself as a good hunter? Yeah. So you have that archetype inside you. I'm a hunter. Let me just come on, I'll go out and do some hunting. Now, the second part of your business is the during unit. That's when the person comes in for a consultation. They sit through the initial consultation. You list their home. You start working with them as a buyer. And then the transaction, they have to find a home. They have to sell their home. And then it closes. That's the during unit of your business. And that part is more of a problem solver. That is the personality style of a Skinner. Skinner. Could y'all say Skinner? So you have a hunter and a Skinner. And the Skinner's responsibility is to debone, to prepare, to make nutritious and delicious and an enjoyable experience. And in today's marketplace, especially in certain parts of the United States where foreclosures and short sales are prevalent type of transaction, what we're finding is when we bring in the kill, it's filled with pellets and it's got more time, you got to debone it, and there's a lot more problems inside the during unit. And it's a totally different personality than the hunter. See, the hunter loves to get it, then the Skinner just loves to take care of it. Now, how many of you hunters don't even like skinning? Yeah. How many of the Skinners you don't even like hunting? How many of the Skinners would you like to just hire a hunter to get you something to eat? There you go. And it's an integral part of your business, hunt, then skin. And then the third part of your business is called the after unit. And the after unit is everything you do with friends and family members and past clients, centers of influence. And you've heard of the concept of 6 degrees of separation. We're all connected by 6 degrees. Well, the fact is, and I've done enough research on this, been at this for 23 years, is that at 3 degrees, influence stops. So influence only goes 3 levels. So if you know 20 people who know 20 people who know 20 people, influence is about 800 people there. And that's why you always have to be bringing new people in and then going 3 deep. You know a friend who knows a friend who knows a friend. And one of the things that we know about the after unit is it's a special skill set. It's a relationship builder. It's a person who has the capacity to be in dialogue with somebody and expect nothing but to bring value to them. And so you have the hunter, the Skinner, and then the farmer. And the farmer is yielding something. Year in and year out, it's producing an annual yield from his crop. So some of you are really skilled farmers. Let me see a show of hands. Who are my farmers? Who would call themselves a strong farmer? Raise your hand real high if you're a really strong farmer. If farming is your preference, check in with the person next to you. Ask the person next to you, which is their strength? Is it hunting, skinning, or farming? Before, during, or after? Which is your greatest strength? Okay, good. Now listen carefully. Here's our observation. Maybe you've noticed this too, that if you're a super strong hunter, you love to hunt, and skinning and farming, it's not not necessarily in your DNA. You'll do it, but it's not what you love to do. You'd rather generate leads, convert them to appointments. Or if you're a during person, you just love to solve problems and really love to dig in there and get into the complexity of a transaction. Or no, you'd just rather build relationships, party, hang out with people, socialize. Yeah, see, how many farmers do we have here? Yeah, there we go, okay. Now we know who we are. Okay. So here's, that's me. So absent of a really good before system, a during system, and an after system, what we have a tendency to do is work 60 to 70-hour work weeks to compensate for the two areas that we're weak. So if we're really strong at hunting, but we're underdeveloped in skinning and farming, what we do is we have to work really hard to generate enough leads to compensate for the two areas that we're underdeveloped. Are you tracking with me on this? And so one of the things that when you're building a business for the long run, for the marathon, it's looking at these units of your business and saying, okay, my before unit has a responsibility to generate a lead. And the lead, we believe, should be coming to you at a rate of 15 to 1. So if you spend $100, you want $1,500 back. If you spend $1,000, you want $15,000 back. So you want that return on your investment of 15 to 1. And there's a lot of ways. How many of you have discovered ways to spend money and not get a return? Okay. How many of you have actually mastered that? Anybody could do a training on that right there, how to spend money and not get a return? Good. So one of the areas that we coach and we really work very diligently on is that if you're a hunter, how to get 15 to 1 and turn it into a system. Turn it into a process, into a methodology. Very much like what the promise of the Exit website would be, is where it would generate a lead for you. It would be a low-cost lead for you. And so what you're always looking for is ways that can generate the most opportunity for the least expense. Because you can put billboards and ad benches and do mass marketing and get a lot of leads, but make no money. And I've watched many people who were some of the highest producers, but when you looked at their P&L, there was no P in that L. Yeah, so I really encourage you to look at where you're spending your money. Now, we won't get too much into that, but just be aware that that is an integral part of your business. Now, the during unit and the after unit is where we'll spend some time today. The during unit is where the greatest opportunity for people to introduce you to a friend, a family member, or a neighbor is. It's at an all-time high. The moment you meet the person, and just think of all of your current clients you're working with right now, the moment you meet them at the initial consultation. How many of you are working with somebody right now? You got a buyer, seller, borrower? Come on, everyone should raise their hand. You probably have somebody. So you're working with somebody right now. From the moment you met them at their home, at an open house, wherever you met them, to the time the transaction is over, that's the biggest opportunity for them to influence the people who are closest to them to know who you are. Because while they're buying, selling, or borrowing, that's when they're noticing other people buying, selling, or borrowing. When I was helping my oldest daughter a number of years ago buy a new car, we were looking for a Volkswagen, and what did we see everywhere? Yeah, when you're looking for a Volkswagen, you see Volkswagens everywhere. If you're not looking for a Volkswagen, you hardly notice them. And so when somebody is buying or looking for a home, all of a sudden they notice other people in their sphere of influence that are buying or thinking about selling. Somebody's living in an apartment right now, and they've decided to enter the first-time homebuyer market. All of a sudden they bump into people in the elevator that are also thinking about it. Not that they weren't there before, but a part of their brain has been activated that they start to notice it. Right now, one of your clients right now is at work right now, hopefully, and they're sitting in their office right now, and somebody walks in and says, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house, or I got my house for sale right now. And the person who hears that says, oh yeah, really? And if it's important to them, they think of you. Well, who are you using as a real estate consultant right now? Who are you working with right now? Now, if that's not on their radar, they don't even hear that. You know, I'm thinking about selling my house. Oh, really? Hand me that file, would you? And it just goes by. But if it's important to me, I hear it. Make sense? So the moment you meet a person at the initial consultation to the time the transaction is over, you're talking to them more frequently than ever. There's 100 to 150 phone calls and emails and text messages that occur in the during unit. All this communication is going on. So the chances of them introducing you to somebody is an all-time high. Plus, they like you the most when you're solving their problem. And so put those three elements together. What we encourage you to aim for is a 50% referral rate in the during unit. So out of every 10 people that you work with, half of them should be leading you to your next client before the transaction is over. And that's a system that you would develop. So if you're working with somebody, you look at, got 10 of them working with, 5 of them are going to be leading me to my next clients. Now, what would that be like if that could occur for you? Imagine what it would be like if half the people you work with led you to your next client. What would that feel like for you? Why don't you turn to the person next to you and just tell them, what would that feel like if you knew that was going to happen every time? If half the people you work with brought you your next client, what would that feel like? How many of you would have more peace of mind? Yeah, more certainty or less anxiety. Or you wouldn't have to be spending your money on advertising and marketing to attract somebody who doesn't know you. You'd be taking care of people in the experience, asking in an intelligent, articulate way, and the result would be they would be introducing you to the people that they care about. And so I'm going to work with you in that area today. Actually, what we're going to work on is taking the people that you're working with right now, and we're going to make sure that those people that we have right now introduce us to someone that they care about in the next week or so, since they're already in relationship with you already. And then the after unit, which is a virtual gold mine for most of you, that if you look at the people that know you, like you, and trust you, and how can you communicate with them in a really high impact way, consistently and predictably, so it yields a 20% return. Imagine what that would be like. For every 100 people that you know, 20 of them introduce you to a friend, family member, or a neighbor every year, for every 100. So that means over a 5-year period, every one of the people introduce you to somebody. That would be a 20% return. What would that mean to you economically if you knew that every 100 people you knew yielded you 20 transactions a year? Now, it's not going to happen accidentally. It's going to have to be very deliberate, very structured, a very clear goal that that's what you want the outcome to be. So when we look at your business, and I ask you, what's your goal this year? I always listen for, my goal is in the before unit. I want to generate X number of transactions and get a return on my investment of X. In my during unit, I want to do X number of transactions and have my referral rate to be X. In my after unit, I want to do X number of transactions, and I want my yield on my relationships to be X. And then I really know that you're looking at your business in these dimensions, as opposed to I just want to do X number of transactions, which is fine, but what if you could do a lot more? See, the average real estate agent right now does about 14 to 15% of their business from some type of introduction or referral. And the people that we coach, on average, are doing between 50 and 70% of their business from referral. Now, what if you can continue to do what you're already doing, but increase your referral rate by 50 to 70%? All in favor of doing that, say aye. Okay, motion carried. So that's what we'll work on today. So just check in with the person next to you. Just ask them, what have they learned so far? What's the insight that you got so far? What's the aha or the uh-oh that you've gotten so far? Good. Okay, now. So what we're going to now do is, that's the bigger picture. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift all of our attention right now to the sprint. And now we're going to work on just putting a very clear system in place to get 2 referrals in the next 7 days. And I'm going to teach you a lot of language skills. And some of you are going to just be amazed at this. You're going to go, man, I could create anything I want in life if I just know how to ask for it, know how to put it into words. And so I'm going to give you some extraordinary language. But know that this is a bigger picture, that it all is about generating a lead, converting the lead to an appointment, the appointment to a contract to a closing to a repeat business, and repeat to referrals. That's our business, and it's impersonal. It doesn't even matter whether you like it or not. That's your business. We're all in the same business. We have to meet somebody, either referred to us or unreferred to us, set up an appointment. We ask them to come under contract with us. We have to fulfill our agreements. We close, and they're repeating and they're referring throughout the process. That's a business. Now, all in favor of building a stronger business, say aye. Yeah. Okay, so that's the bigger picture. Now, what we're going to drop into is just the sprint. How do I go out and get 2 leads in the next 7 days, convert them to appointments so I can write a contract and get a closing in the next 7 days? Now, that's not building a longer-term structure. That's just going after immediate business right now. Now, I put together a whole structure for building a marathon business, and of course, I brought some of our programs with us, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that later. But I want you to know that I've been doing this for 26, 27 years, helping people build the before unit, the during unit, and the after unit of their business. So as we go into this conversation today, if this resonates for you, and you go, really, this feels good, this is a direction I would like to build my business, I'd love to work with you a little bit further. So I'll share that with you a little bit later, and I'll give away a set as a door prize a little later on. So here's what we're going to work on, is how to get 2 referrals in the next 7 days, how to just get that accomplished. So here's the definition of a referral. When someone introduces a person they love to a person they respect. That's what we're going to operate from today. A referral is not, hey, the guy down the street's thinking about moving. Don't give him my name. That's a lead. Yeah. A referral is when somebody introduces, key word there is introduce. Would y'all say introduce? Yeah, I love that you guys have woven that into the fabric of your culture, that it's an introduction, not a referral. Introduction meaning something has to occur. 2 people have to cause something to happen. And it's a person that they love, and they bring them to a person that they respect. So when I say 2 referrals in the next 7 days, that's what I'm referring to, is those 2 types of people. And that's very exciting. So imagine right now there's going to be 2 people coming into your life in the next 7 days that are currently not in your life, that are going to want to buy a house or sell a house in the next 7 days as a direct result of what we're going to learn in the next couple hours. Imagine that. Now, what does that feel like, knowing that that's going to happen? Knowing that you're going to have 2 people come into your life in the next 7 days that really respect you, and you're working with somebody who is really loved by another person. And there's where we're headed today. So that's our operating definition of a referral. Now, here's a few facts around the whole concept of referrals. And number 1 is 67% of the people who use a real estate agent to buy or sell a house say that they will refer them, but only 19% do. What happens? How come 70% of the people want to refer, but only about 20% do? What happens? Yeah, something happens. Yeah, so do you believe that most people go into an experience wanting to refer people? Yeah, when I go into a restaurant, I want to have the kind of experience that I want to tell my friends about. When I go in and buy a car, I want to tell my friends about the great experience. If I go see a movie, I want to tell people about the movie. When I buy a house, I want to tell people about the experience of buying a house. So people enter in wanting to, but exit not wanting to. What's going on? Something's happening there. And that's what we're going to explore a little bit today. 15% of the people who use an agent will never refer them no matter what. Why is that? How many of you met some people you just don't want a referral from? Have you met people that are just anonymous, and then just in their nature and the chemistry of who they are, they just don't want to be any more than who they currently are? I'm just fine the way I am, and I don't really recommend. If you're interested, you go find out on your own. And about 15% of the population make up that type of person. Now, 15% of the people who know an agent will refer them if they like them. Isn't that interesting? How many of you know people who you have never even helped buy or sell a house for them, or you haven't really even done anything for them, but they advocate for you because they like you? They like who you are, who you're being. And so they go out and they endorse and they recommend, they tell their friends about you. And you're going, wow, this is fabulous. I wish I had 100 people like you. And so 15% of the population are mavens, or they're what we'll call our advocates. And then another 70% of the people who know an agent will refer them if they like them, and the agent asks in an intelligent, articulate, value-packed way. And that's what we're going to work on, is how to create some intelligent, articulate, value-packed ways of asking people to introduce you to the people they love because they respect you. How many of you could use some help in this area? How many of you could improve in those areas? So that's what we're going to concentrate on. Now, the good news around that is someone who comes to you by referral is 5 times more likely to refer you to someone else. Isn't that interesting? The person who comes to you through referral is the person most likely to refer you to someone else, versus the person who comes to you through marketing is the person least likely to refer you. They're actually 5 times more likely to refer you. So given that, I'm going to ask you a question right now, and the question is probably the most important question you'll ever ask yourself, you'll ever ask anybody. It's what's important about getting 2 referrals in the next 7 days to you. And I'm going to show you right now with this simple question right here, how you can inspire and motivate people to take action in a direction that is in their best interest. And I'm going to show you how to use this question in your own business, You'll change around. You might use it, what's important about selling your house to you? What's important about success to you? What's important about a career to you? What's important about buying a home to you? And if you know how to ask this question, and you can discover what the answers are, and the person gives you those answers, and you understand their language, you can inspire them to do virtually anything. And so I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So how many of you would like to become more influential, more inspiring, helping people take more action? So I'm going to show you a technology. It's a very simple technology. It's something that each one of you can master. And when you're done with this little exercise with me, you're going to go, I am going to start doing that in every conversation from this moment forward, because it will give me the power to influence people in the direction of their biggest dream, their biggest future. So let's just start. What's important about getting 2 referrals in the next 7 days to you? What comes to mind first? Why don't you tell the person next to you, what's important about getting 2 referrals in the next 7 days to you? Why don't you yell a few out for me? What is it? What's important? Money? Okay, good. What else? Money, what else? More money? What else? Okay. Well, then let me put it this way. What's important about money to you? Security, freedom, family. What's important about security to you? Okay, now you're starting to get to the core of it. So what I'm going to ask you to look at real carefully is, and it's easier to demonstrate this than to actually teach it, but I'm going to ask you to take your page right now and write down 7 numbers. Just write down the right side of your paper. Just go 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, and what you're going to do is on your right side of the paper, right? It's your left side of the paper. There you go. There you go. Facing me. There you go. So on your left side of the paper, what I want you to do is just follow along in this example with me. And then what I want you to imagine right now is the next client you're going to sit with, you're going to ask them the question, so what's important about selling your house to you? And they're going to ask these 7 questions. And by the time you get to the 5, the 6, and the 7, what you're going to realize is that you know what the truth is. That most people don't even know what the truth is until they're into their 5th, their 6th, and their 7th answer. Richard Bandler, one of the great neuro-linguistic trainers of all time, that actually created the word NLP, calls this the most important value solicitation question you'll ever ask. You know, decisions are easy when values are clear. And if you don't know what your values are, decisions are difficult, and you hesitate, and you procrastinate, and you delay. And so the easiest way to help people get clear on what's important to them is ask them deep, profound, insightful questions. Shallow questions get shallow answers. Profound questions get profound answers. So what I'd love to do is demonstrate this for you. And the easiest way to do that is just have one person right now just raise their hand, and I'll bring a mic to you, and we'll work it with you. Somebody who's never done this with me before, you've never seen this exercise, never seen this before, would you stand up there? Good. Would you give her a nice round of applause for doing that? Yeah, excellent. Good. Right here. Good. We'll bring you a mic. I'll get you in 1 second. I just want you to notice, all I did was ask if you'd like to stand up and role play, and only one person raised their hand. What happened to the rest of you guys? What happened? Well, I gave you some words. You had a feeling, which created a behavior. And the behavior was not participate. Yes or no? And all I said, who wants to role play? And you created a feeling. How many of you had a feeling? Nope. And then the next thing was is that you sort of, if I looked at you, avoided eye contact. You know who you are. Something happened, and I want you to know that that's what happens in the marketplace. You suggest something to a client, they feel it, then they respond. And so I know when I say, who wants to role play, just use those words, very few people are ever going to raise their hand. 1, 2 people will raise their hand in a group of 1,000 people. But what if I told you this? That when you stand up in front of a group of people, what's your first name? Christy. Would you put your mic up here?
Christy.
Okay, when you still, like Christy did, when Christy courageously stood up and said, you know what, it's probably difficult, it's probably not going to be easy, but I know that when I participate, everyone wins from it. How many of you ever been in a scenario where you watched something happen, and as you witnessed it, you had almost as good a feeling as the person who was receiving it? I was watching this young man help this person across the street, and I was watching it. I was feeling really good about what he was doing as the witness of it. I wasn't even the participant in it. And so when somebody stands up and courageously, steps up and goes, I'm going to take one for the team, and everyone's going to learn from me. There's extraordinary willingness in that. And that's what you want from your clients. The most important characteristic you could ever ask from somebody is willingness. The hardest person to work with is an unwilling seller. Say yes? You ask them to do something and they're unwilling, and then you go, how did I ask them? Did I ask them in a way that caused them to feel fearful, anxious? Did I ask them in a way that brought up emotions for them that said, no, I can't do that? I'm responsible. I'm responsible that only one person raised their hand, and I'm responsible by the words that I used. But now just knowing that when you stand up and you participate, everyone wins from it. How many of you are more likely to participate? Okay, we're getting a little bit better. Okay, so that took about 3 minutes of language to get more hands up. Now, do you think I could probably go for another 10 minutes to get more hands up? Probably go for another half hour and get everyone's hand up. See, what language does is it changes the way you feel, which changes the way you behave. And there was an example of it. All I did was added more language, and you changed your feeling. And that's what the power of language has. Now, Christy, you are willing to stand up, and so you're going to get a great insight from this. And thank you so much. Again, give her a nice round of applause for doing this. All right, good. There you go. So, Christy, here's the instructions. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I'm going to write your answers up on the flip chart. Just keep it to a word or two, just a word or two, the best that you can. Okay. And we'll see where it goes from here. Now, what I want you to listen to real carefully is how I segue from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, 3 to 4. I want you to listen carefully to the questions in between the questions. I want you to watch what happens in this interview, because this is very similar to when you're sitting across from a buyer. You're going to say, so what's important about selling your house to you? And you're going to want to take them to their 5, 6, and 7, because when you know what their 5, 6, and 7 is, you have the ability to inspire and influence them in a powerful way. So, Christy, what's important about success to you?
Helping others.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to write that down. I'm going to put helping others. Very good. Now, helping others means different things to different people. Mm-hmm. What's important about helping others to you?
2 words.
Well, what do you got?
Paraphrase this for me. Helping them to realize the potential they have that they're not currently tapping into.
Good. So I'm going to put that right here. Helping realize potential. I got it? Mm-hmm. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, good. So what's important about success to you is helping others, which is defined by helping other people realize their potential. Mm-hmm. How am I doing so far? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So when you consider helping others realize their potential, what's important about helping others realize their potential to you?
By helping others realize their potential, I'm a broker owner, so that is going to lead into a more successful brokerage for me.
Okay, so what's important about helping other people realize their potential? Say it again. What's important about that too?
When they realize their potential, then it improves my brokerage.
Okay, it helps you improve your potential, mm-hmm. Increases your potential, increases your brokerage. Mm-hmm. Which word works best for you?
Any of them.
Well, you pick it. It's yours.
If they will realize the potential that they have as an individual, then they can realize the potential then that's going to lead into the potential of our team, of our full office.
Okay, so
team potential.
Team potential. I like that. That's good. You got some energy on that. Team potential. Okay, so very good. So here's what success is to you so far. It's helping others, which means to you being in the presence of them, realizing their potential. And the outcome of that is that the team realizes its potential.
Right.
There you go. So what's important about the team realizing its potential to you?
Leads to the success of it's just building the success of our office and the long term.
Drop out of here, drop out of the head right here, and go down into your heart for a minute. When you really look at it, when you go in there every day and you look at the team members and you're looking at their potential and you're examining helping them, what's really important about the team realizing its potential to you?
Say that one more time, because you talking about it makes me think about it.
You got it, though. She's right there on the edge. And what's happening for her right now could be happening for all of you. It's called soul sorting. It's looking for a deeper truth. We're so used to having news, weather, and sports conversations that we don't go deep. And right now, I'm looking for something deeper than where you commonly go.
Right.
Like there's something that drives you deeper than just money, security, freedom.
Right.
Those are all wonderful things, but there's something deeper. And I'm curious, when it comes to team potential, what's important about team potential to you?
If we have a team that's reaching their max or their higher potential than where they're at right now,
Yes.
it kind of frees everyone up to tap into each other's leverage to get that synergy.
Okay, so I love that. I love that word. So it creates more synergy.
Right.
I love that. Amen. There we go. So what we have here so far for Christy is success. In her words, it's helping others. And what that means to her is helping them realize their potential, which is manifested by the team's potential. Mm-hmm. And the outcome, again, is it creates this really cool synergy in the office, in the environment, in the company.
Right.
So now, I imagine you know what the next question is. What's important about creating synergy to you?
When there's a synergy within our office that's going on between the agents,
Yeah.
it basically takes some of that pressure off of me as the broker owner who is also a salesperson.
Yes.
So when that synergy's there, they are leveraging one another and going to each other.
So what's important about that to you?
It removes some stress from me.
It removes stress and gives you what?
Freedom.
Freedom. Okay.
Ooh, that felt good just to say. I'm going to say that again. Freedom. Freedom.
Come on.
Oh,
Come on,
sorry.
Braveheart. Freedom! Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's a really important part of success. So I can imagine, I could say to you, are you feeling successful today? And you could look around and go, there ain't no synergy right here. I'm looking at the teams underperforming, and I'm not really helping people realize their potential. I'm not feeling really successful today.
Say that again. A little slower. I'm from Georgia.
Yeah,
We talk slow.
okay.
We talk slower in Georgia.
That's a good thing to know. But it went into your unconscious mind. You got it.
Right.
Because the way you show up in life, the way you show up in the office is to be successful.
That's right.
And it gets manifest by helping others. And you know it when others are realizing their potential. And that's pretty clear. You can look around and go, they're realizing their potential. And then when that's happening, there's something that's going on with the team. The team's potential is, right, dare I say the word, I don't know, do you guys say the word vibration in Georgia?
Well, sometimes maybe under a little different context.
Okay. That too. Okay.
Oh, you mean as it relates to business?
I'm all with you. All one team here. And that does remove stress. And there is freedom in that, my dear.
I have 4 kids at home.
Okay, I won't say that word again, the V word. But where I was going to is that when that team is fully potentialized,
Right.
there's a good feeling in the office. You call it synergy.
Right.
I call it vibration. But we're all saying the same thing.
I mean,
Okay?
I can try it and see
It's
if
the
it doesn't
vibe.
increase
You got the vibe. You got the vibe is going. And when that vibe is moving, baby, you're stress-free and feeling freedom.
Right.
Okay, now, what's important about you being stress-free, experiencing freedom to you?
If I have less of the stress of the,
No, don't go into it. What's important about removing stress and having freedom to you? What's important about that to you?
my family, the effect it'll have on my family.
Yeah. Thank you. There's a deeper truth. Happy Christy, happy family.
That's right. Just ask him. He'll tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for, because now I know you better. Like, I knew you kind of helping others. We all want to do that. Realizing their potential, I like that. I like it when you think in team, because you're thinking outside of yourself, and then creating synergy. I love that thought of a really synergistic environment. And then the outcome is less stress, more freedom. But the great thing is the people who you love the most get the best of you.
That's right.
Yeah. And so what's important about the effect that you have on your family to you?
John had talked about it earlier, is living with that intent to leave a legacy. I don't want my kids to have a legacy of me grouchy and working and all the time. It's that. Yeah. I want them to want to sell real estate.
You want them to be part of Exit. You want them to look up at you and go, Mama, I want to be just like you when I grow up.
That's right.
I just love the way you show up. You help people. You make sure that they realize their potential. Your team is incredible. There's great synergy in your office. You're always free. The effect you have on the family is extraordinary. Mama, you're going to leave behind some extraordinary stuff. That's success to you.
That's right.
Yeah, beautiful definition for her. Is that nice? Yeah, wonderfully said. Yeah. So, yeah. Now, all we did in this, I wish I could get down there and just grab you. But, because what the gift that you share with us, and when you do that right there, is you tell us the truth.
That's right.
That's the truth. And you're not even at the truth until you're at 5, 6, and 7.
That's right.
We're just on the surface. Are you following me on this, everyone? She's just floating on the surface right there. And what kind of authenticity and vulnerability does it require for someone to drop their guard and go, okay, here it is. I'm a bitch when I'm not. When I am not realizing my potential and the team doesn't have synergy, I'm a nightmare to be around. And I'm starting to feel the effects of it. My kids are looking at me right now going, Mama, we do not want to be in real estate if we're going to be like you. And I'm starting to feel the pain of that. And I can't say I'm a success. And you're feeling that now.
Right.
And so all I'm doing is saying to you that you wake up every morning and you write down, the reason I am here is to help others realize their potential, focused on my team's energy synergy, so I can be free, so I can focus on my family and leave a great legacy. That will inspire you to get it done.
That's right.
Yeah. It's not money. The money's inside all that.
That's right.
You do that, you'll make more money than you'll ever be able to handle.
That's right.
And so I'm just giving you language right now, and it's not my words. Those are your words. Those are the words that you take home and you say to your family, hey, kids, this is what Mommy's all about these days. Mommy's all about this legacy. Michelle, would you give that to her? And just put that up on the kitchen wall, and every time you're a bitch, they can say, Mama.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good. A very nice round of applause. Yeah. Good, thank you. Now, how do we translate that into the real estate and the mortgage world? How do we translate that? Well, I like to use a structure. I like to turn everything into a system. So you duplicate it, so it's predictable, it's reliable, it's consistent. And so when we go out and see a buyer or seller, or when we're talking to another real estate agent about the exit opportunity, what we want to do is find out what their 5, 6, and 7 is. Because it's the 5, 6, and 7 is what exit gives them. Are you following me on this? See, I know that if Christy invests in the tools that I put my life into creating, I've put 26 years into thinking about before, during, and after, building a system and a structure. I know that if she invests a little bit of money into that, I promise her that she'll have more freedom, she'll have less stress, she'll experience the team's potential on levels she's never experienced before, but most importantly, her family will see her as an organized, structured person and leave a great legacy. That's what our program will do for you. Now, you follow me on this? Now, I just told her what I will do for her wrapped inside her words. And he already said he'd buy it. So. There you go. Yeah. He's just like the part about the... Yeah. Yeah. So here's my recommendation to you is that when you sit with a client, the first thing you do is you say to them, before we even get started, I just want to find out what's important about selling your house. I want to find out what's important about buying a house. I want to find out what's important about a real estate company to you. And I'm going to use this form, put some structure in it, and what we're looking for are just some answers. And what I know from my background in psychology and sociology is that when people have blank forms, they want to fill them in. So when you're sitting with a husband and wife, you say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm going to ask you each to take a form, and we're going to work individually because I want to find out what's important about selling the house to you, and I want to find out what's important about selling the house to you. Who's going to get started? And then you always start with the least dominant one, because if you start with the most dominant one, they just copy the other person's answers. And what you want to watch when you're with a husband and wife team is, do they converge or diverge? Do they come closer together or do they go further apart? I'll tell you a couple of stories and I'll shift off this section. I was going through a changing time in my life. This is about 12 years ago. And I was living in a little condominium on the ocean in Southern California, and I wanted to move out of that and move into a new area, a new house. And so I called up Jay Wu. Jay is a real estate mortgage consultant. She said to me, so what's important about selling your house to you? And I thought, oh, don't you do to me what I taught you to do to others. And you know, it's interesting when you're on the receiving end of what you teach. And she said, well, what's important about it? I said, well, I want to live in Cardiff by the Sea. That's this little town. I was living in Encinitas, and I said, Cardiff by the Sea. And she said, well, what's important about Cardiff by the Sea to you? And I said, well, my daughters who live with their mom over in Carlsbad, they could get over to my house without getting on the freeway if I lived in Cardiff by the Sea. And Jay said, okay, so what's important about having your kids get to your house without getting on the freeway to you? And I said, well, I want them to feel comfortable just stopping by, visiting me whenever they want, so I can have more of a connection with them. And I know if it's really easy for them to get to me, I'll see more of them. Jay said, so what's important about you having an opportunity to see more of them right now to you? And I said, well, Jay, I've been a little bit of a real estate gypsy. I would buy a house, sell it, buy a house, sell it. And I want to give my kids, my two daughters, Olivia and Tracy, I want to give them a place that they know their father is grounded in. Like they really know this is my home, this is where I live. And I don't think they have that experience of me right now. Now we're at the 5, and Jay says, so what's important about giving your kids that experience of a grounded father to you? Now, I got to tell you guys, I didn't want to answer this question because it starts to get to the core of it all. Because I had to tell Jay the truth. I said, Jay, well, truth is, when their mom and I decided to go in different directions, it was a very difficult thing for me. It was very, very difficult. And then I left that marriage. We were married for 15 years, and I left. And within 1 year, I got remarried again. And within a year after that, that marriage didn't work. And I was embarrassed. I was devastated. I felt so low, I could sit on a newspaper and my feet would hang over the edge. I felt so bad. How many of you ever had low moments in your life? It was devastating to me. And I remember sitting down with Tracy and Olivia and Kathy, my former wife, and saying, hey, you guys, you can't believe it. I'm going through another divorce. And they were like, oh, Dad, get it together, will you? What is your problem? You know how kids are. And so I said to myself, okay, I am going to, no matter what, I'm going to get it together. And I said to Jay, the reason is I got to give my kids a better model of a father than I'm currently giving them. And Jay said, okay. So what's important about giving them a better model than what you're currently giving them? Now, we're into some pretty deeper stuff. And I have to look inside because it's not that I want a new house. I want something much more than that. Houses, that's nothing intrinsic about that. That's just brick and mortar. People buy it for these reasons. These are the conversations they're having around the kitchen table that you're not privy to. Then we go in and talk about pricing. And so I said to Jay, Jay, my mom and dad went through a divorce when I was a kid too, and I watched what happened to our family, and my dad moved around a lot, and I want to give my kids a model different than what my dad gave. And Jay said, so what's important about that to you? And I said, you know what, that's my purpose. My purpose is to break the insanity in this lifetime and give my kids a different experience. And I got to tell you, that was a turning point in my life. When I admitted that, and then we went to work on selling my house and buying another home. And I found a home in Cardiff. It was beautiful. Drove up, remember, look at it and go, oh, this is it, this is it, this is it. I want this. I call up Jay, this is it. I want this house. She goes, is it a place you can stay for a long time? I said, yep. Is it a place where you can be a model for your daughters and really be grounded here? Can they get there easily back and forth? They go, yeah, this is it, this is it. And she goes, then let's write a full price offer to reflect how important this is to you. Yeah, well-trained girl. Now, this is back in 2003. Anybody remember the market 2003? It was best you wrote a full price offer then. And so we wrote the offer. They accepted the offer, went into escrow, and then there's about a 10-day period of time between when everything seemed settled and when we're going to close, and then the fire broke out in San Diego. Anybody remember when we had the fires break out in San Diego? Yeah, it was a catastrophic event. I mean, it was huge. It was all over the place. And they stopped funding everything. They stopped lending money. They put everything on hold until they started to do drive-by appraisals because they wanted to make sure all the properties were there. So Jay calls me up and says, Joe, we have to do a drive-by appraisal. And here's the good news. I think it's going to appraise. The bad news is there's 3 backup contracts on the house. And if we don't close on November 1st, what's going to happen is you'll lose the house because Andy, the builder, already has 3 prices higher than what you've offered that he's ready to close on. I'm going, okay, well, do what you can do. Drive-by appraisal occurs. She calls me back in a couple of days and she says, okay, Joe, here's what I need you to do. I said, what's that? She goes, I need you to wire $100,000, the landmark funding, because the appraisal came in $100,000 less. She says, you got the money. It's not meaning the value of the home is less. It just means that they're going to lend you less. Now, we can go find another lender, but you'll lose the house. More important than that is, are you willing to invest in a relationship with your daughters? Are you willing to, now she's really touching a chord now, Are you willing to be a bigger version of yourself than you've been for the last 12 years for your kids? Or are you going to continue this ridiculous behavior, moving from one house to the next, never giving them a reflection of the man that you want them to attract into their life? I'm going to stop, Jay, stop. And now, if you knew Jay Wu, you'd stand there and she goes, she had permission to do that because she loved me. And she knew that I was begging to be led. Emerson said it, the massive men are silently begging to be led. All I want you to do is tell me what to do. Don't ask me, what do you think you should do? See, when you say to a client, well, what do you think you should do or what do you want to do? What you're doing is abdicating leadership. They're hiring you to tell them what they should do to make their dream come true. But if you don't know what their dream is, how can you tell them what to do? If you don't know their 5, 6, and 7, how could you advise them? Jay knew it, so she wasn't going to let me off. She held firm to it. She goes, Joe, I know Tracy, I know Olivia. This is the house for you. You got the $100,000. That's no big deal. You wire it now. And I'm like, okay. And I've got to tell you, if I didn't have that kind of leadership, because I've got the type of ego that would want to go to war with the seller. How many of you know that type of seller? Yeah. I would have done that, and I would have lost the house, and who knows what would have happened. But I can tell you today, you guys, that I left that home before I came here, and I have created a sanctuary for myself. And my daughters love coming there. Before I came here yesterday, I was with my 16-year-old daughter. We were down at the DMV. It was the most precious day of my life. I've got to tell you that this 16-year-old kid has such a great relationship with her father. I would never imagine that. I mean, she stays and she has a room at my house and we hang out together. She's my buddy. She went to get her driver's test and she flunked it the first 2 times. Her mother took her. Dig, dig, dig. And she came to me and she says, Dad, would you take me? Would you take me? I know you can inspire me to do this. I know you can. I thought it was going to be really easy, but something happens. I just get so nervous. As soon as I get in that car, I just lose it. I go, let's go, honey. So we drove down to the DMV. And you guys, I took out my journal. And I said, Olivia, what's important about getting your license to you? Here's my notes. And she said, number one, she said, it will give me independence. And I said, what's important about independence to you? She said, freedom. I said, what's important about freedom to you? She says, I'll be on my own. What's important about being on my own? Dad, I just want to be able to go out and make my own mistakes. What's important about making my own mistakes to you? And she goes, I want to learn how to take responsibility for myself. I said, what's important about learning how to take responsibility for yourself? She goes, it's time for me to grow up. I said, what's important about growing up to you? She says, Dad, I just want to be a better person. And I looked at her and I said, sweetie, you get in that car and you take full responsibility and say to yourself that the license means you are a better person, that you've done the work to be the better person. And I watched this young girl just march away going, I can do that. I may not be able to pass the test, but I can be a better person. And isn't it neat that as soon as you want something and you're clear about what's important about it, the world lines up to give it to you. It's just all the forces line up completely. And the most beautiful girl walks over and says, oh, Olivia, you're back. And I said, oh, did you test her before? Yeah, I can't test her again, but Angel can. I loved it. Angel can. And she brought over this other girl. She said, this is Angel. And as Angel was coming over, she goes, Olivia's going, Dad, I'm so glad she's not testing me. She was so mean. And Angel goes, Olivia, oh, welcome back. Okay, and Angel got in the car, and they went and took the test. And then it takes only about 10 or 15 minutes. They drive around the neighborhood, and I watch them pull in the driveway, and she jumps out. She goes, I did it. I'm taking care of myself. I'm responsible. And I thought, oh, that's the power of clarifying your values. See, when she was in the car before, she was trying to impress that person. Are you following me on this? Some of us go on a listing appointment trying to impress the person as opposed to be the person that helps them get clarity, whether they like you or not. Help them get clarity on what's important to them. And that's so powerful when you can imagine doing that. So she's got her license. Now the trouble begins. But you know what I'm saying to myself is freedom. How many dads do a little bit of driving for their kids? Yeah, I'm grateful that she has her license, and I also feel the gratitude in being part of that process with her, because I know for a 16-year-old girl that's enormous. I also know for a person who's selling their home, buying a home, or changing careers, that's a monumental decision, and they need somebody at that decision point that uses a tool like this, that uses a process like this to help them get greater clarity. So how many of you are getting close? How many of you are starting to see the wisdom in this? Yeah, good for you. Now, I'm doing this conference in Washington, D.C., my 3-day program called the Main Event, where we do all of day 1 is before, all of day 2 is during, and all day 3 is after, before, during, and after. And we had anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 people come to these trainings. Been doing it for 26 years all over North America. We're in Washington, D.C. about 2 years ago, and a gentleman raises his hand and says, Joe, over here. I go, what's happening? He goes, it's me, Sam. I go, Sam. He goes, yeah, let me tell you what's going on. I said, what's that, Sam? He goes, last time I was here, I learned the 5, the 6, and the 7. And I went out on my first consultation, and the guy was blind, B-L-I-N-D. He goes, all I had to do was take my scripts and open them up. He goes, it was the most beautiful consultation ever. And the first thing I said to the guy was, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, might feel a little uncomfortable, but let's just do our best. I've got a form in front of me. He's got 7 blanks. I'm going to see if I can get them all filled in by the time we're done. So what's important about selling your house to you? And the guy says, I want to net $60,000. And that's where most people start, is with money. When I said, what's important about success? Somebody yelled, money, more money. That's where most of us start, at the lower frequency. The lower word. And then he said, so what's important about netting $60,000 to you? The guy said, well, that would give me enough money to move on. Okay, so what's important about moving on to you? Well, that I could get into an apartment of my own. Well, what's important about being in an apartment of your own? Now he starts to get into the truth. Well, my wife passed away a couple years ago, and I don't want to live here alone anymore. And so if I got into an apartment, I could get my life started over again, kind of in a new place. Now that's different than $60,000. Say yes? Yeah. So what's important about getting your life started over again? And Sam described this. He says that the temperature in the room started to change when he said, I don't want to be alone anymore. I want to attract somebody into my life. And I feel like when I was in the house where my wife passed away, I wasn't attractive. It was like her energy was still there. It was us there. I need my own place now. So what's important about not being alone to you? Oh, Sam, nobody should be alone. Nobody should be alone. And what's important about nobody being alone? And he said, guy dropped his head down. He says, you know what? It's in my prayers. My wife is telling me to move on. Move on now. Move on. So I'm listening to her. Now, let me ask you this. How do you price the property when the guy's goal is to listen to his wife's prayers so he can move on, establish a new life? How do you price that? Take comps? Because the guy wants to net 60,000. But what if it comps out it, he could net 41? What do you say to a guy? You say to a guy, well, I know that 60,000 would be an important number for you. And as an experienced real estate consultant, if it's really important to you to move on into an apartment, to be on a location where you can attract a person into your life so you're not alone anymore and you can answer the prayers that your wife is sending you, I would suggest we put the home on the market at this price. And you always wrap your advice inside the 5, 6, and 7. Whatever you're going to suggest to somebody, you take their 5, 6, and 7 and wrap it inside there. If they say, you know what, we're going to wait till we make an offer. Well, let's just see if that is congruent with what's important to you. Because you told me when we met 5, 6, and 7, does that match up? Your behavior seems to be hesitating. I thought you told me this. And so the end of the story on that is Sam goes, oh, here's the good news. I sold his house. He netted about 51,000. He met a deaf girl. I was invited to the wedding. I've become a kind of a real estate consultant for the deaf and blind now. And I've done 7 or 8 transactions since I've did that one transaction. And he said, Joe, it would have never happened if I didn't ask the question, what's important about blank to you? Selling your house to you, buying a house to you. Would have never happened. Because I would have went in and said, well, let me tell you what the price of the property is. Would have put it in the market, getting him what he wanted because I would want him to like me more than have the truth be told. And because I had this process, I was able to do this. So how many of you be willing to even give this a try? How many of you be willing to try? How many of you could just try it at home with your kids tonight? Yeah. Mom, are we having dinner? Well, what's important about eating to you? I'm hungry. Well, what's important about satisfying that hunger to you, kid? I just feel better. What's important about feeling better? Well, I think better. What's important about thinking better? I get better grades in school. Now we're getting somewhere. Now I'll make you a decent meal. And just in your life, just notice that the most powerful question you could ever ask is, so what's important about that to you? And when you know a person's 5, 6, and 7, and you ethically, empathically work with those words to inspire them in the direction of what's important to them, you watch people move faster. So the coaching I often give people, they'll come to me, well, so what do I do with this information? Well, how many of you have a listing that might be overpriced right now? You might want to have a little 5, 6, 7 talk. You might want to just call them up and say, hey, you know what, I went to the exit convention where we learned some extraordinary new ways to help people get from where they are to where they want to be. And what I got really clear on is that my future depends on your future. And I want to make your future bigger than ever because it makes my future bigger than ever. And part of doing that is I need to know more about what's important about selling your house to you because I think I fell short on our initial consultation. And we'll take about 20 minutes. I'll need you and your spouse to get together, and we just need to kind of hit the reset button and see where we stand today. And what you're going to find is some people don't want to give it to you. You'll sit with a person and say, hey, so what's important about selling your house to you? Oh, we just want the most money we can get. Well, everybody on the planet wants the most money they can get. What's important about getting the most money on the planet they can get? Joe, what don't you understand? We just want money. Money, money, money. Okay, so I got it. Money's really important to you. So what's important about that money to you? That's the stupidest question I've ever heard. You're a real estate agent, just get the damn thing sold. Now, I'll tell you, when people treat you that way, now you have to make a decision who you're in relationship with. Now, if you enter into that relationship and they abuse you along the way, they told you up front they were going to do it. They're constitutionally incapable of having an authentic, truthful conversation. And they view you as a function. They view you as you are go for me. And there are certain percentages of the population that cause you more harm than good. Say yes? And so one of the best ways to discover who they are is just say, so, hey, would you like to find out what's really important about selling your home to you? And watch the people who go to 5, 6, and 7. The people who tell you the truth, watch they become your best clients ever. You ever been on a presentation or consultation and all of a sudden they say, okay, here's what's going on. And everything changes in a minute. Yes or no? And what happened? They just went to the 5, 6, and 7. And you didn't have a structure for that, but you're going, how can I make that happen again? That's how you make it happen. So it's a tool that I've invented and been creating. I've been working with it for 15 years. I've been on thousands of consultations watching real estate agents do this. I've done it in every time that I've ever coached somebody. Whenever I want to work with somebody, the first thing I always find out, so what's important about success to you? And if I don't like their 5, 6, and 7, I say, you know what, I'm not the right coach for you. Because if their 5, 6, and 7 is still money and prosperity and being number one in the office, yeah, you know what? You're going to put me under too much pressure. You know, I'm not interested in that. What I am interested in is an authentic conversation of really tapping into your highest potential. And I believe that when you sit across from somebody and say, hey, you know what? I noticed you on that transaction. I like how you show up, the way you serve people. You'd be a good part of the exit team. I'd love to sit down with you and just explore that a little bit. And I use this little form, I call it my 5, 6, and 7 form. And I'm just curious, what's important about being successful in real estate to you? Really? And what's important about that to you? What's important about that to you? What's important about that to you? And get into their 5, 6, and 7, and then look at them and say, let me share with you how the exit plan can help you get your 5, 6, and 7. And talk to them about how exit will get their 5, 6, and 7. And what you're doing is you're speaking their language. I don't care how much you know until I know how much you know about me. And all that I really need to know is that you know what's important to me. So what I'm sharing with you right now is one of the easiest, fastest, most effective ways to inspire people into action. How many of you are starting to get that? Starting to get it, yeah? Okay, would you turn to the person next to you real quick and just share with them, what did you learn from that? What's the aha or the uh-oh or the What did you get out of that? Bucket, business card. Yeah. I think what I'll do is I'm going to, good Brandon, we're here? Okay, yeah, good. I think we're doing okay, huh? Okay, come on back. Now watch. All we're doing right now is working with magic words. And those words are magical. What's important about selling your house to you? What's important about success to you? What's important about buying a home? Those are magic words because they unlock combinations and they help you get inside. And that's magical. And so my mother, who was a school teacher, she's taught in the public school system for almost 20 years. My dad was an entrepreneur. He was a business owner who started a company making draperies. You can imagine that on the south side of Chicago. Anybody from the Chicago area? Yeah, all right. 63rd and Kedzie was where his shop was at. Highland Draperies. Did we make your drapes? Very close, okay. So my dad was always saying to me, you know, Joey, own your own business. And my mom would say, be a school teacher. Here I am. A little bit of both of them. And my mom, she loved homeschooling us for the first couple of years. That was kind of her vision. She thought her contribution to us that would last forever is that she could have us the first 4 or 5 years of school. And so she homeschooled us. And so 9 brothers and sisters I have, by the way, 9 brothers and sisters. So more than just a hobby for my father. We called it his workbench. You know? Oh, Dad's going to work. Okay. He was a crazy guy. He's no longer with us, God bless him. But he's he left behind some really, wonderful drapes. And he taught me what it meant to build a system. He had this drapery company. You'd walk in and an assembly line of all the things that you cut here, you press here, you fold here, and then you bag back here, and then UPS would come and pick them up, and another happy client would be served again. And all day long, drapes going out of the factory, and I really learned systems from that, just watching that. My mom was really a good school teacher. She was really good. She loved her game. She loved, as most school teachers do, they just love to help people. And she taught us with flashcards. That was her method of teaching. So I would wake up in the morning and there'd be like a flashcard in my eyes, and she'd just constantly flashing. So, my mama. So when I was encouraged by people, they say, hey, write a book, share all of your thoughts and your language patterns with others. I thought, that's an easy way out. So what I decided to do is I started putting all my language patterns on cards, flashcards. Like I made decks of cards. I got 4 or 5 decks of cards with all my language patterns. So I've studied with some of the best language practitioners in the world, people like Jamie Smart and Tad James and Richard Bandler and John Grinder, and I've studied the work of Milton Erickson, and I know how to put patterns together, language patterns. And so what I've been able to do is take all of that work, bring it all together, and then put it onto cards. And then each one of the cards represents a different way to address a particular situation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you, how to work with language patterns. And a language pattern being, so what's important about blank to you, that's a language pattern. That's an example of one. So I've got about 240 different patterns like that. And the one that we're concentrating on today is called magic words that get referrals. Now, it's important that you understand that words can change things instantly for people, instantly. In a flash of a second. I'm walking into a Publix market, Florida. Anybody from the Florida area? Florida? Florida. Florida. So I walk into the Publix market there, and there's a fella sitting out in front with this sign. Let me just show you this sign. It says, "I'm hungry." You ever seen people doing that before? Okay. Yeah, I'm hungry. Would you all say that? Okay. Say it again. Okay. Now, what are you feeling now? Okay, good. Now, watch. I'm hungry. Now, what is he saying with that? What's the truth? Well, no, where's the deeper truth? What's he saying? Like if he was to really tell what he wanted, what would he say? Yeah. Now, see, so when you see that sign, what do you feel? No, come on now, be really honest with me. He's sitting in front of a Publix supermarket, and you're walking by, and there's food all over the place, and he's going, "I'm hungry." What's your real first thought? Like, get a job. Or go get some food. There's food right behind you. Why is that so? There's a word there called I am, or I'm. Who's it all about? Him. He's got all the focus on himself. And when all the focus is on you, people can't hear you. So I walked up to him. I said, "How's that working out for you?" I love coaching, And he said, "Well, you can see there's nothing in my can." I said, "Oh, so you want something in the can? Is that what you want?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "So what's important about that to you?" And he said, "Well, if I can get some money and get my car fixed." Oh, I said, "What's important about getting your car fixed?" And he said, "I can get back to South Carolina." I said, "What's important about getting back to South Carolina?" "Oh, my family's back there waiting for me." "What's important about being with your family?" "My father-in-law says he's got a job for me if I can get back up there." "So what's important about getting a job with your father-in-law?" "Oh, mister, if I could just get back with my family, get back on my feet, that's all I want to do." Now that is so different than "I'm hungry." You follow me on this? So I said, "Hang on a minute, I'm not going to give you money, I'm going to give you words." Because that's my currency, is language. I said, "Hang on a minute, I'm going to run in and I'm going to get a marker." And I came out with a marker and I wrote these 5 words on the back of his card. Now, when I flash these up here, I want you to go in to the experience of imagining seeing this and what's your first feeling. something happens instantly. It's just like when I said, would you raise your hand? There's a feeling instantly that occurs. Y'all got it? Who's it about? It's all about you. It has nothing to do with me. And the only way I can understand the question is I have to go in and experience hunger in order to understand what it means. Unless I am just so cut off from my feelings, I can't feel it. If I'm just so, blocked off from any type of emotion, I can't even see it. But the average bear would look at that and go, ooh. And the only way to get rid of the ooh feeling is what? Here you go, partner. I feel better. I'm not so hungry. Now, if real estate doesn't work out for you, you've got something to work with now. So check it out. How many of you have a thought that you might be running around saying things like, I'm hungry? Just saying that, I'm hungry. I'm just working with my slide here. I just want to go back to that slide there. I go backwards. Backwards, there you go. Yeah, this right here. We walk around saying to people, I'm hungry. And we don't even realize it, and what you're doing is producing a feeling, which is producing a behavior. And so the rest of our talk is going to be about what do you say to people so they give you an introduction, a referral, and you get at least 2 of them in the next 7 days. That's what we're going to do from this point forward. So I'm just kind of laying some foundational stuff for you. How are we doing so far? How are we doing so far? Are you starting to get it? Yeah? Starting to sink in a bit? Okay, good. So as a gift from our company to somebody in the audience, what I'd love to do is give away an entire set of our training. I put together 18 hours of CDs, audio CDs, and 6 hours of DVDs, a 234-page workbook, and a website. I'll give you a password to a website that has about 10 downloadable videos, a whole section on the magic words process, on how to work with the magic words, and then I'll give you a 1-hour consultation with a coach. If you look inside your kit here, would you take this form out? I put a form that looks like this inside your kit. Would you take that out if you can? There's a little kit that I gave each one of you when you walk in, or what the team gave you when you walked in. You take one of those out, and it just describes everything that's inside our program. And the reason I ask you to look at autodidactic learning, that's what we call this, is autodidactic. It means self-learning. How many of you have come to the place that if you want to learn something, you know it's available, it's out there. All you have to be doing is willing to invest the time and a little bit of money. You got to put the time into it and the money into it. I'll tell you a real short story, and I'll tie it all into this, is I just got my certification for being a Russian kettlebell trainer. Now, does anybody know what a kettlebell is? A kettlebell is a cannonball with a handle on it. And in order to get certified, you have to take a 44-pound kettlebell, swing it between your legs, and bring it up over your head 100 times in 5 minutes. All right? And 100 times 5 minutes. You could do 50 on one hand, 50 on the 64, it doesn't even matter. And then you get your certification. So I went down to La Jolla in Southern California, and 100 guys from all over the world showed up for Pavlov. Pavlov is the Russian kettlebell devil. And there's only about 150, 200 guys in the United States that are certified for this. So I went down there, and I've been training for the last 9 months for this. So in my training with my instructor, we went through that exercise, so I knew I could do it when I got to the exam. I did it 3 times before I got there. So when it was time to get certified, I stood up and I grabbed that bell, and I did the 100 in 4 minutes and 15 seconds. It was pretty awesome. The oldest guy ever to do it that fast. And so I got certified to do that. And I was watching these guys with these big beach muscles, these beautiful goddess men. This guy from Brazil walks up, you know. He's like, he could hardly get it up. And I'm like, hey, buff boy, you got to practice. You got to put the time in before you get certified. And that's what was the difference was. The difference was is I put the time in every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm down at the gym with Robert, and what he's doing, he's simulating the class. So when I got there, it was just right through it. Scored, there's 100 points you get. I got 100 points out of a possible 100 points. The only guy over the age of 50 ever to do that within that group. And I don't tell you that to impress you. I tell that to impress upon you that it was all in the practice. It all happened before I ever got there. And I'm going to suggest to you right now is you do not learn the skills when you're sitting in front of a client. You already have them when you get there. And some of you are winging it when you get there, as opposed to really being on the top of your game when you're there. And so that's what I do as a coach is I help people get ready when they're there. First of all, I teach you how to get there. You got to be in front of people. You got to have leads. You got to have appointments. So I'll show you how to set that up in your whole before unit, give you all the tools, give you all the scripts, all the dialogues, all the things that you need in order to set up a before unit in your business. Teach you how to be great hunters. And then we'll spend time becoming really skilled skinners and really a dynamic listing presentation, buyer presentation that will support what you're already doing, enhance it, make it even stronger by adding the 5, 6, and 7 to it, and then putting in some magic words inside it. And then the after unit, showing you how to build a whole after unit of your business so you can yield a 20% return on your clients. This is my lifelong learning right here. 26 years I put into this program right here. And so I will give one of them away for a door prize right now. And if you don't win, I've got some good news for you. You know what the good news is? You said it. There's a form inside your kit. Would you take this form out for me? There's a form inside your kit that says, yes, Joe, I want the most complete set of field-tested strategic and business systems, and it's an order form for that. So we have set up right out in front here all of the material. So you'd fill this form out, you'd bring it over here, and you can see on the form it says the investment for the whole kit is $495. And here's my offer to you today, it's $199. So I'll give you the website, I'll give you the 17 CDs, the 6 DVDs, we'll give you, I'll throw this in, I think we brought them along with this. I'll even include a set of the magic words cards. I'll put a deck of cards.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage, Mr. Joe Stump.
Thank you. You got your rock star in me. Woo! Boy, you don't want to see that side of me. It's a rock star. How many of you are closet rock stars? There you go. I knew it. Miniature Mick Jagger here. Since she was 4 years old. Oh, that's so good. So, we're back here again. Good to see you back. How you feeling? Okay. On a scale of 1 low, 10 high, how happy are you right now? Okay. So, what would you have to do to take it up one more notch? Like if you're at 11 to take it up to 12. If you're at 6, what would you have to take it up to a 7? See if you can find one thought that would make you happier, and turn to the person next to you and just tell them one thought that would make you happier than you are right now. Real quick. One thought. What'd you say? Okay, there you go. So let's work with some language patterns. So let's imagine right now that somebody comes up to you and says, hey, how's the market? You say what? Okay, now remember what we want them to do is behave in a specific way when we're done talking. So if somebody says, it's getting closer, there's a little bit of awareness there. But if somebody comes up and says, how's the market? What I want you to do is go into the most skilled linguist that you know, that part of you that knows they're asking something, and what I want to do is talk to that, not to what I think it is. So, for example, I'm down at Starbucks. Anybody ever been to Starbucks? I live in my little Cardiff by the sea. There's a little hill that takes you right to Starbucks. You can just kind of wake up and stumble down there in the morning. So I'm in there one morning, and there's a young lady standing in front of me, and I like small talk, so I said to her, so what do you do for a living? And she turns to me and she goes, oh, I'm in real estate. And I go, ooh, this is your lucky day, girl. And I said, so how's the market? And she says, oh, it's picking up, it's picking up. And I started to think about, what did she just say? Who was she talking about? Yeah, I think she's talking about her income. Because she wasn't talking about me. It's picking up, it's picking up. What does that mean? Picking what up? Who's picking what up? So what I really want you to do is look inside right now and ask yourself, what do you really want to say when someone says, how's the market? Well, you start with, what do you want them to do when you're done talking? Well, they're not going to buy real estate in the line at Starbucks. They're not going to sign a contract with you to buy. Well, there's a next step you want. And what you want to do as a pro is constantly asking yourself, when I speak, it creates a feeling. And that feeling produces a behavior. So when I'm done talking, what action would I like to see occur? So when someone says, how's the market? What do you want to have occur? Turn to the person next to you real quick and just tell them what you want to have occur. So just brainstorm this for a minute. How's the market? You want what? Okay, watch this. So I'm going to just introduce to you this concept right here. I want you to just look at this, okay? So here is a ace of spades. How's the market? And here is a language pattern that would sound like this. Experience shows it all depends on where you live. Now, we're talking about the most important thing right now, which is what? Them. When people say, how's the market? What they're really saying is, hey, what's going on in my neighborhood right now? I saw 2 homes for sale. I'm not sure what they're selling for. One guy said he sold it full price, but I don't even believe him. How's the market? That's behind the question behind the question behind the question. So a really good cushion is just experience shows. Would y'all say that? Say it again. Okay, one more time. Okay, now that's just, you want to anchor that in. When I ask you to say something 3 times, what it does, it goes from being an accident to a coincidence. It actually starts to create a neural path. When you say something 3 times in a row, experience shows, experience shows, experience shows, your brain starts to actually cut a path, like a neural path, a myelin path it's called. And neurons that wire together start to fire together. So you want to be able to just go, hey, how's the market? Well, experience shows. Not my experience shows, because my experience shows is I'm hungry. Soon as you appear, they disappear. So what you want to do is put it all on them first. And I do that with this. Experience shows it all depends where you live. It's where you live. And just pause. And I promise you, half the time people will tell you where they live. Oh, I live on Hiawatha Street. Oh, I live over on Cambridge. Oh, I live over in Oakville. They'll just tell that to you. And then you can decide if you want to continue. Well, I'd love to do some research for you. I can send you an email and tell you what homes are for sale right now, what homes have sold recently, how long homes are taking to sell in your neighborhood. So you can feel real secure in the knowledge that you have all most accurate information. And this timely information will tell you right away how your market is right now. I imagine that information would be of value, would it not? Now, I mean, there's a lot of language there, but what if you just started out by learning how to say, experience shows, it depends where you live. And just, it's a keto, just turn it on them. So now they're talking about, oh, I live on Hiawatha. Well, how long you guys been there? Oh, we've been up there for about 6, 7 years. What kind of house you got? Oh, we got 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Well, here's what I'd love to do for you. I could do a little research. I can send you an email or drop a note in the mail and tell you what homes are for sale right now, which ones have sold and how long they were on the market, how long it took to sell. I imagine that information might be of value to you, would it not? Now, if they say yes, they're moving towards you. And that's the action you want. That's very different than, oh, it's picking up. It's picking up. It is picking up. A latte, please. You know, and the conversation is over. So in the next 30 days, how many of you think you're going to have an opportunity to deal with how's the market? Yeah. So it might be worth just practicing that once, just getting experience shows it depends where you live. And then at that moment, you make a decision. What do they say? They describe to you, well, I live over in the trailer parks, you know, and we just moved in and we're not really, you can go, oh, the market is fabulous, thank you. You can disengage. How many of you remember Tommy Hopkins who says, how's the market? Unbelievable. Yeah, and maybe it is to some people. But if you say unbelievable, what you're saying is I don't want to talk to you right now. But if you're with somebody and say, hey, how's the market? Gosh, Tom, that's a great question. Experience shows it depends where you live. Where are you guys living now? Oh, we're over in Hiawatha. What kind of home are you in? We're in a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Yeah, how long have you been in there? Oh, about 10 years. Now, I'm listening to that, I'm going, market would probably be pretty good for this guy. Here's what I can do if you're some research. And now if he says, yes, send me that email, what he's just done, he's moved towards you. Now, what if only 2 out of 10 times people move towards you after they ask you how the market is? Is that worth knowing how to handle that? Yes. Yeah. See, success is not being great all the time. It's just being great when it counts. And when does it count? When you open up your mouth. A mentor of mine, his name is Robert Greenleaf, he said this, Bob, you'll remember this. He said, only speak when what you're about to say will improve upon the silence. He said, say it again. Only speak when what you're about to say will improve upon the silence. And it's the distinction between being an amateur who wings it and a pro who speaks into his intention or her intentions. And that's how I'm inviting you into the world of intentional language. Very clear. You know people are going to ask you, how's the market? What do you want the outcome to be when you're done talking? You want them to give you their email address and see if there's interest. That's what the outcome is. So speak to the outcome first. Now, here's another one. How many of you have ever heard how's business? How's business? Which is a little different than how's the market. So check in with the person next to you and just tell them, how do you deal with how's business? What do you say? How's business? You say, what? It sucks. Why don't we take a look at this? How's business? Now, I'll teach you a couple more advanced patterns. It would sound like this. Things are going well, and isn't it nice to know that I have time for you and your family and your friends and the people that you care about? Now, listen carefully. How's business? The worst thing you can say is great, because at the unconscious level, what you're saying is you're busy. There's a lot of real estate agents that run around like busy bees. And what they're telling everybody close to them is, I'm too busy for you. And I would just suggest when somebody says, how's business? You just drop down into neutral. Drop it into this barometer and just say, it's going well. Everyone say it. It's going well. Now say it to me charged, very neutral, just as a matter of fact. Again? Again? Now, you know how attractive that is to me? When you go, oh, it's going well, you're trying to convince me. Or if you go, oh, you really sucks, it's not really going very well, I'm not interested in being with you. But it's going well. That's very attractive. It's like, I want to know more about that. Well, it's going well. And, would y'all say and? It's called an invisible word because there's no picture for it. There's 11 words in the English language that are invisible. It, because, is, and, words like that. And has no image for it. So it disappears. And is one of the most important words you'll ever learn how to use. And I'll show you a way to do that. Under pressure, we replace it with but. It's going well, but could always use more, which means it's not going well. Whenever you put a but in, it makes everything before but a lie. Or some people say everything before but is bull. So when somebody says, yeah, I really like it, but, you might as well not even said that. Just tell me everything after but, because that's the truth. So just notice under pressure when you're with somebody and says, hey, how's it going? Oh, things are going well, and. Now notice what happens when you have and. People start to listen. And what? And I do have time for you, your friends, your family members, and your neighbors, or anyone else that you really care about that could use my help. Now that's a really powerful statement because I'm now shifting it onto them. And then you can continue and say, I'm curious, who do you know who would love to own their own home? Because when you introduce them to me, they can better understand what their best options are in today's marketplace. And I would love you to start to use the word love. I love that thought, you using the word love. Love has a high frequency to it. Love, love, love. Just say the words, I love that thought. So when somebody says something good, just try practicing. God, I love that thought. I love that thought. I love that thought. I would love to show people how to find them. I'd love to show them what the market. Just inject love into your business. The opposite of love is what? And what Steve has done so beautiful, fear is the opposite of love. What Steve has done so beautiful with the whole exit formula is he's removed fear from it. There's no fear. Fear's been removed from the formula. William Edward Deming said the most important thing a leader will ever do is take fear out of an organization. And the plan removes fear. It's all focused on one thing, just help each other. It's very powerful. So what I encourage you to do is interject love. Now, this notion around the word but, I'm going to give you you want a little more advanced technique? No? Dude, I mean, how many of you could handle a little more advanced thinking at 4 o'clock? Okay, good. So write down the word but, B-U-T, but, all right? And I'm going to teach you the but flip. Okay? So you will hear this now that I'm going to bring it into your awareness. Almost every conversation you get in with a buyer, they're in need of a butt flip. And so you're going to become so aware of this, you're going to go, oh, there's Joe's butt flip. And it sounds like this. A person will give you a thought. They'll say, I would love to own a home in that neighborhood, but it's too expensive. Your responsibility is to flip it by saying, so what I hear you saying is, it's too expensive to live in that neighborhood, but you'd love to own a home there. Did you hear the flip? And what you always want to do is continue the conversation in the direction you want to go. While they're ending it after the but, you're flipping it and continuing it. I'd love to take that offer, but it's just not enough. So what I hear you saying is it's not enough, but you'd love to take that offer? Well, we need to discuss it a little bit more. And so it opens it up again. When they put the negative after the but, it ends the conversation. So what you want to bring your awareness to is when people use the but, you say, is it time for them to flip? Now, how many of you just have to listen better now? Yeah, just have to raise your awareness to what's actually happening, what people are really saying. Because would you agree that we speak into existence our current reality? Like we're moving in the direction with our language. Whatever we're saying, we're bringing into existence. We're talking our future into existence. So when you become really skilled at this, what you do is you just be vigilant about what people are saying, and then you just, whoa, so here's what I heard you say, is that you think the home is a little too expensive, but you'd love to own it? Yeah, that's what we said. Well, let's talk about what it would take to love to own that home. Not opposed, not as it's too expensive. Let's talk about the direction you want to go, not the direction you don't want to go. So it just requires a little more listening, but when you do, you will like who you are better. How about this? Try these 5 words on. Please don't keep me a secret. Would you all say that? Okay, now say it again, but pause after please. Hear the shift? It's quite different. Because when you say please, don't keep me a secret, it's actually a request. Now, those 5 words, please, comma, don't keep me a secret. Don't is called an implosion word. There's 7 of them in the English language that when the mind hears it, it automatically reverses it. How many of you thought your name was Don't before you were 4? What do kids say when you say, don't do that? What do they say? Well, now they go, well, I'm not. Don't hit your sister. I'm not. She hit me first. What we have a tendency to do is just reverse it instantly. So when you say to a person, hey, please, don't keep me a secret. And secret's one of those words. If you go to Barnes & Noble and look at all the magazines that are on the rack there, you'll see the word secret appears more frequently on the cover of magazines than any other word. And there's a lot of psychology to that because secret is what causes curiosity and let me take a look to see what a secret is. And we all know there are no secrets. It's the secret. The secret is there's no secrets. That's a secret, though. Don't tell anyone that secret. So when you use the word secret, you say, hey, please don't keep me a secret. I promise you this is what happens. Your listener will say, oh, I don't. I tell people about you all the time. Now, if you get really skilled, you can say, well, thank you for doing that. I'm curious, who's the next person you know that's most likely to need my help when it's time to buy, sell, or borrow that you'd feel comfortable introducing them to me? Now, I'm going to give you a couple of key words here. Do your best to get rid of the word service from your vocabulary. And service is a benign word. It's in the monastery. It's a monastic word. It comes from the Greek origin. It means to be of absolute devotion to God, service. I'm going to ask you to take that word and get rid of it and replace it with help. Help. So would everyone say help? Help. Now say it like, say the word with the meaning in it. Help. Help. How many remember that commercial? Help, I've fallen and I can't. Yeah, very powerful. One of the most dramatic print ads ever. Help, I've fallen, I can't get up. Help has an automatic, you're the rescuer and I'm the victim. It automatically assigns a role. So when you say, the next time you're in a conversation, that's called future pacing, the next time you're in a conversation with a friend, a family member, or a neighbor, and they mention they would like to own a home of their own, would you feel comfortable introducing to me so I can help them out? That's different than, hey, if you know anyone that wants to buy or sell a house, would you refer them to my real estate services? One is, I'm hungry. The other one is, what if you were hungry? So help, 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 instead of service, service, service. Another injection I encourage you to do is the words friends, family member, and neighbors. Those 3 words in combination are culturally coded to mean trust. Like a good State Farm is there. There's a very powerful association with friend, family member. I'd encourage you to start to sign your letters, your friend in the real estate business. Sign your emails, your friend in the real estate business, because when they introduce you to someone that they care about, they say, hey, I got a friend in the business I'd like you to meet. They call you their friend. So start assigning yourself that role, the friend in the business. Yeah, I'm their friend. I'm in the real estate business. I'm one of their friends. It makes it easier for them to introduce you to the people that they care about. So next, another word I'd love you to get rid of is the word commission. Commission. See if you can just replace it with contingency. It's a technique called reframing. In our program there, on day 2 in the main event, in CD 7 and 8, I go through about 9 or 10 different reframing statements. One of them is called contingency versus commission. So if somebody says, what's your commission? It's best that you put a new frame on that and say, well, I work on a contingent basis. Now, would you describe to the person sitting next to you, what does the word contingent mean? Describe your definition of contingent. Okay, what would be the opposite of contingent? What would be the Okay, well, get this context, because this is your business. The opposite of a contingency is a retainer. A retainer, where somebody puts money into an account and you draw against it. Contingent is, I take on all the responsibility and all the risk, and as a result, I get a higher reward. When the person who takes the most risk gets the most reward. The person who takes the least risk gets the least amount of reward. So when somebody says to you, well, what's your commission? You might say something like, well, it's interesting. I work more on a contingent basis, which means I put up all the upfront money, upfront time, expertise. I pay for the E&O insurance. I pay for my marketing, my advertising. I pay for everything, so there's no out-of-pocket expense for you. Or I could work on a retainer basis, which means we put $2,000 into the account, and we just draw against that, whether I sell your house or not. Yeah. Which one are you guys interested in? Because commission is only a formula to determine what they're going to pay you when you are on contingency. You don't work on commission. You work on a big risk. You take all of the liability, you put it all up front, and as a result, you get a nice commission. But that's not how you work. That's just how you get paid, but you work on a contingent basis. How many can find that helpful when you're going into the future there? Yeah, so hold that as a way to frame. And what I'm going to suggest is most people, they'll change their whole conversation if they just see you in a different frame. They see you as a salesperson, then all of a sudden they see you as somebody who's taking all the risk. They treat you different. So I would encourage some of you just to even go in and address it up front. Just say, one of the questions people always ask is, what's my commission? And I like to make it clear right up front, is I work on a contingent basis. And a contingent basis means I'm going to take all the risks. You guys have no out-of-pocket expenses. I'm going to pay for the marketing, the advertising, the promotion, my E&O insurance, my desk costs, my phone costs, my automobile insurance, my assistant, my paper, everything that you can't even see here, I have, whether you get your dream or not. I still have those expenses, versus a retainer. And then contrast it to retainer immediately. And watch what happens. They'll hold you differently. They'll reframe it. And that's a very powerful notion, is reframing. So, good. Turn to the person next to you and just check in with them on a scale 1 low, 10 high. How likely are they to use that strategy sometime in their career? 1 low, 10 high. Yeah. Oh, I love this one. We have our Thanksgiving coming up. Canadians, did you just have your Thanksgiving? Yes. Okay, so what's your next holiday? Is it Christmas? Oh, okay. Yeah, us too. Yeah. Amazing. That happens. So you're going to be around friends, and you're going to be around family, and you're going to be around people that you would love them to introduce you to somebody, but they haven't done so. Have you ever sat at a dinner table and you're looking at everybody and you go, no, they've referred people, they haven't referred people, they have. Okay. So do that this holiday. And then I give you permission to do this. Just look at that one person across the table from you who's never referred anyone to you, and you just say, hey, a guy named Joe Stumpy spoke at our convention. He owns this company called By Referral Only. And he said when it comes to referrals, the population is divided into 3 groups. He said 15% of the people will refer me without me even asking. 15% won't refer me because they don't promote under any circumstances. And 70% of the people will refer me if I ask them in an intelligent, articulate way. Hey, Uncle Bob, I was wondering, what group do you think you fall into? No, that's fun. And I would say that for some of you, the strategy you want to learn how to do is how to open into a dialogue, how to just dance with this. So you're at the kitchen table. Hey, you guys, listen, I went to the seminar and they said that out of 100 people, 15 will never tell anybody about me. Another 15 tells everybody about me, but 70 of them will tell other people about me if I ask them to do it, but I have to ask them in an intelligent way. I'm wondering what group you think you're falling into. And just watch what happens. It opens up conversation. And I would say the most awkward thing that we confront ourselves with friends and family members, how do we step into a conversation? How do we just kind of, go, as opposed to, hey, do you know anyone who wants to buy or sell? You know, like just right at the front lobe of their brain, which is the reptilian part of their brain, they just, no, I don't know anyone. They don't know how to go. So this kind of stuff kind of goes in the back door a little bit. Try this one out. I love this. Who's the next person you know that's most likely to buy their first home? The magic word is next. If you can build that into your dialogues, next is one of the most powerful words in the English language because it drops you into search engine. Next. The brain has to do this. It can't say yes or no. It has to look for. So if you can imagine that when we're talking to somebody, it's like Googling. You go in and you type in your information and you hit search and it goes in and searches. So when I say to somebody, who's the next person you know that's most likely to buy their first home? I have to go like this. Well, the next person would be next. I was actually doing a little lunch and learn with a group of friends of mine in Cleveland, Ohio area there. And not Cleveland, Dayton, Ohio. Pat, Dayton, you know Pat Sherman? You know Pat Sherman? Is Pat back there? Yeah, well, Pat is a good friend of mine. You know Pat. So we had a group of her team together at one of the country clubs over there in Dayton. And the waiter walks in. I said, well, listen to this, you guys. And I said to the waiter, I said, hey, who do you know who wants to buy a house? And the waiter goes, oh, I don't know anybody. And just walked away. I said, now, how long did it take before they gave us a no after I asked the question? And everyone said, instantly. It was like automatic. I gave words they felt, they responded. I said, now watch the next person walks in, watch all I'll ask. And the next person walks in, I go, hey, I was just wondering, who's the next person you know that's most likely to buy their first home? And we watched it was actually a waitress go like this, next person? If it's anybody, it'd probably be my sister. Now, the reason it did, because the mind was not cornered. Who do you know? Corners me. Like I can only one way out. Don't know anyone, but who's the next person you know that's most likely, and then if you can put a specific action in there, first home. Or a good question today is who's the next person you know that's most likely to need advice on what to do because they owe more on their home than it's worth, and they don't know what to do. Those words are just so powerful. Owe more on your home than it's worth, and you don't know what to do. That little statement takes off all of the guilt. It's when you say to a person, hey, you know, I'm working with a lot of people in the neighborhood who owe more on their home than it's worth, and they just don't know what to do. The next time you're in a conversation with a friend, a family member, a neighbor, and they mention that they owe more on their home than it's worth and they don't know what to do, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me so I might be able to help them out? That is an elegant way of inviting yourself into a troubled situation. So see if you can work with that thought next. Everyone say next? Yeah. So I'm curious, the next time, would y'all say that? Again? Again? One more time? Okay, thank you for playing with me on that, because what's now it's getting embedded into that neural path. The next time you're in a conversation with a friend, a family member, a neighbor, and they mention they need help, and then put in where they would need it, buying their first home, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Once you get that notion, you would never ask directly, do you know what you say? Would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? They say yes. Now, I'll teach you a technique. This might be one of the most important things you'll learn as far as increasing the probability of referrals. Your name and your telephone number must be in their cell phone directory, or the number of people who will introduce you reduces significantly. So one of your responsibilities is that when you're in conversation is get your name and number into their cell phone directory. When you hand out a business card, what you're doing is deferring that action. I'd actually encourage you, before you hand out a business card, stop and ask yourself, instead of giving them the card, can I ask them to take out their cell phone and get my name and my phone number into their directory right now? Because as soon as your name and your phone number gets into the directory, the likelihood of them introducing you to somebody soars versus handing somebody a business card. You're going to be at a social setting and somebody says, hey, you got a card? You're going to go, yeah, I do. Do you have a cell phone? Yeah, I do. Well, why don't you just grab your cell phone? Instead of me giving you my card, why don't we just swap numbers right now? And now that your number is in, the likelihood of them being able to access your information when it's time to introduce you skyrockets. Does that make sense to y'all? Yeah. So my friend Terry, when she sits down at a listing presentation, the very first thing she says is, hey, you guys, do you have my cell phone number in your directory? Is it in there now? Oh, no, it's not. Well, before we ever get started, let's do that right away. And she knows that the moment the phone number gets into the directory, the likelihood of them introducing her goes up by at least 100%. She can actually track all the people who don't introduce her are the people who don't have her number and her name in their cell phone directory. And then when you learn about text messaging today, I'm going to show you about text messaging. Text messaging is by far the fastest, most effective way for people to influence other people. It is the way people are introducing people. They send a quick text. And we want to enter that world. We want to get into that world of texting and make it just common communication to be texting each other, making it really easy for people to introduce you by text to their friends and their family members. How many of you are texting frequently? Yeah, how many of you have 16, 17-year-olds? I have my daughter, Olivia, she'll be in the back seat sitting next to her friend Emily, and they're texting each other. How many of you have kids like this? Yeah. So texting is here to stay. Once you see the power, and I'll show you it today, once you see the power of it, you're going to go, before I do anything, I'm going to text people from now on, because it enters into their life in a beautiful way. Next is, oh, I love this thought, how to turn a compliment into a referral. Well, why don't you try this? Turn to the person next to you real quick, somebody that maybe you don't know very well, maybe they're behind you, in front of you, and would you just give them a real sincere compliment? Real quick. Shouldn't take that long. Okay, good. So there's a couple of ways we deal with that. One way is that we deflect it. Oh, that's a nice, that's a nice tie, you might say. And I go, oh, really? I've had this for quite a while. It's not really that nice. It's actually pretty old. So what I do is I deflect off of it. Or you say, that's a nice tie. I say, oh, thank you. Or there's a third way to handle a compliment, which opens up into an entirely different conversation. So you say, nice tie. I'd say, what do you like about it? So no longer about my tie. What's it about? It's about what you like about it. And see, what happens is that when we get a compliment, we make it all about us. Let me ask you this. Are you guys getting value from what I'm sharing with you? Okay. So what is the value you're receiving? If you had to put it into 5 or 6 words, what's the most valuable thing you've received so far? Makes you better. What else? Knowledge. Yes? It's all about them. What else? Language. I love he used the word manipulation. That makes me feel real good. See, you can pick words that make people feel a certain devious way, you know. Oh, I love manipulating people over here. Give me more manipulative language. But, you know, manipulation is an interesting word. Manipulate means to move with intention. And I could use this to move with intention, or I could do this with intention. Are you a hockey player? Never mind. Okay. Who else? What other value have you received? How to change your words wisely. Thank you, young man. What else? Direct the conversation. Confidence. What else? How to gain more knowledge. Everything you just said about communicating. Yes. Anybody else? A little louder. Speaking effectively. All right. So what I've raised is your awareness around all of that. So what I heard you say is you've raised your awareness around speaking effectively, communicating, being more confident, selecting your words more cautiously. Now, I want you to hear what I just asked you. I said, are you getting value from the conference? And you said yes. Then I said, what is the value? Now, I'm going to suggest this, that anytime a person pays a compliment to you, you want to find out what the value is in that. So, for example, when somebody says, hey, I loved everything you've done for us, you would say, well, thank you. Could you tell me what you mean by that when you say you loved everything I've done for you? And you want to find their words because those are the words they use to describe you to other people. So what you think is of value may not be of value. Value is received only when value is recognized. So when somebody says, oh, I really appreciate everything you've done for me, Bob, we would go, oh, don't mention it. Not a big deal. Do it for everybody. Yeah, secret agent. Yeah, not a big deal. And we'll run an ad. See you later. When in fact, when somebody pays you a compliment, this is the most magical moment in business. Hey, I really love everything you've done for me. Well, that feels good. Touch your heart. That feels good. Your words make me feel. That feels good. I'm curious, could you tell me what you valued most about the help that I provided you? Oh, Joe, you were always on time. You did what you said you were going to do, and you were really grateful for everything. Oh, so what I hear you saying is, I was always on time, I finished what I started, and I was really grateful. Yeah, those are the characteristics that we really admire in people. Well, the next time you're in a conversation with a friend, a family member, a neighbor, and they need help, and you know they're the type of person who wants somebody who's always on time, does what they say they're going to do, and will express their gratitude, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Use their words to describe you, to introduce you. And everyone has a different set of words to describe you. And the time to get the words is when they're complimenting you. And then when you write a note to somebody, hey, I really enjoyed working with you and Sandy to help you buy a home. It was a pleasure always showing up on time, doing what I say I was going to do, and showing my gratitude. Have a great day. Because that's how they talk about you. You may be thinking they're talking about how great your company is, but they're not out there. They're talking about something totally different. And you want to know what words they're using. Make sense? How many of you think you're going to have to practice that? Just a little bit. Yeah. But how many of you see the value in practicing this? What I hope I differentiate for you is the difference between an amateur and a pro. And what an amateur does is wings all this stuff. And what a pro says, I'm paid to talk. Every time I open my mouth, I'm going to improve upon the silence. So I'm going to become a master of my language. Take a look at this next one. Let's do this. Oh, I love this. This is almost evil. This is the 7 of spades. I was wondering if your best friend was going to buy a home, do you know an agent that you'd feel comfortable introducing them to? It's evil. Because if they say no, it means they don't have one for themselves. It's diabolical. It's so clever, but so powerful. So, hey, Bob, I was just wondering, if your best friend was going to buy a home, do you know an agent that you'd feel comfortable introducing them to? Now, if they say no, you say, well, I'd love to be that person that you feel comfortable introducing your friends to who need mortgage advice or real estate advice. What would have to happen for us right now to make that a reality? Very powerful statement. Yeah. So the deflection is, instead of me saying, hey, when you're going to buy a house, would you use me? I would say, hey, if your best friend was going to buy a home, do you have a real estate consultant that you would feel comfortable introducing them to? No. Then they don't have one for themselves either. And you want to be that person. Very powerful. Oh, I love this. This is great. Let me ask you a question. When somebody says their mom's thinking about moving, what do you say next? Hey, my mom's thinking about moving. What do you say? I love your mom. That's well thought out. But I want you to really go into that for a minute, because what people do is they refer you, they don't introduce you. What you want is an introduction, not a referral. And so it sounds like this. Mom, my mom's thinking about moving or refinancing. You say, would you be comfortable telling your mom about me? Yeah, I'd be comfortable. I know that telling your mom is the easy part. I also know that getting me and your mom into a conversation is the hard part. I'm curious, what do you think would be the best way to make sure that your mom and I get into a conversation? I would suggest that when anybody identifies a referral, that your number one job is to get into a conversation with them. And if you leave the scene of them telling you about somebody without getting into a conversation or a plan to get into a conversation, the likelihood of that occurring starts to diminish with every tick of the clock. So you know what it is, you're sitting with a person, yeah, my brother's thinking about moving. Well, here, would you give him my card, have him give me a call? And then 2 weeks later, hey, what happened to your brother? Listed with ABC. Why? He's got a buddy with ABC. How many of you believe everyone knows another real estate agent? Yeah, how many of everybody believes 3 or 4 other real estate agents? And so at the scene of a referral, your next step is to make sure that you have a very best next step. So I love that thought when, hey, my mom's thinking about moving. Oh, great. Hey, would you feel comfortable telling your mom about me? Oh, yeah, I would love to. Well, you know your mom better than I do. If you were me, what do you think the best way would be to make sure the two of us get into a conversation? And I promise you'll have things like this happen. Oh, no big deal. Let me call her right now. That's the ideal situation. My friend Todd Welsh in Salina, Kansas, he was walking into his attorney's office, and his attorney said to him, hey, Todd, did my brother Chris call you? He's about to put his home on the market. And Todd says, no, I haven't heard from him, but I would love to help him out. And he starts to walk away, and he stops. He goes, if I walk away, I'll never get that listing. So he turns around and he said, do you really want me to help Chris? You think I'm the right agent to help Chris? Yeah, of course I do. If you were me and you wanted to make absolutely certain you got into a conversation with Chris, what would you do? And the guy said, let me call him right now. Chris, I'm here with Todd. Talk to him. Todd gets on the phone, talks to him, sets up an appointment, goes out and gets the listing, and he would have never gotten it. You know, this guy knew 2 or 3 other real estate agents because this guy's an attorney working with realtors all the time. How many of you can hear the wisdom in that? It's just so powerful. How many of you see missed opportunities? Yeah, where somebody says, hey, my sister's thinking about moving. He said, oh, great. Give her my card. I'll be right here. You know, and you spent the commission, you know, and you're planning a new vacation, the whole thing. And all she did says her sister's thinking about moving, as opposed to, would you love to see me help your sister? Oh, I'd love you to. Well, you know her better than I do. It's all called reversing, all putting it on them. All putting it on them. You know her better than I do. If you were me, what would you do if you wanted to make sure you wanted to get into a conversation with her? What would you do? And she'll say, well, I'm having lunch with her tomorrow. I'll tell her then. Oh, good. So I'll call you tomorrow right after the lunch? Yeah, that's a great idea. What time's your lunch? Noon. Okay, I'll call you at 1. Okay, talk to you at 1. Now you're walking away going, it's not that the sister's thinking about moving. You got to call at 1 o'clock to find out what's next. And I would say that's those little subtle things are the difference between doing 10 transactions and 27 transactions, between 27 transactions and 36 transactions. It's those little ones that escape us that we go, how do I get more business? And then what we do is we start running more ads. We start doing more marketing when those opportunities were right in front of us the entire time. We just have to wake up to them. It's like, wake up, they're right there. You know, speak into it. I love this thought too. That's a good one. Oh, they're all good. All good. They're all just so good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you into the 2 and 7 program. I'm going to get this all set up here for you. So let's go get 2 referrals in the next 7 days. Ready to do that? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to give you, this is a simple program. It's something that I created about a year and a half ago. I wanted to find out if I could take anybody that I was coaching. We coach right now about 4,500 real estate agents and mortgage brokers all over North America that are part of our coaching community. And so we assign a coach to them, and we work with them, and we put them into a whole entire process and build their whole business for them. And what I wanted to experiment with is could I take any one of the people that we coach and get them out of survival instantly, like 1 week? One of my greatest upsets that really stirs me is when I see somebody who's in survival, like that place where they're almost being victimized. They're like I just can't make money. The market, they had all these excuses for not producing. And so I decided I was going to create a 7-week program where our 7-day program that at the end of 7 days, if they did these specific things in 7 days, they would have at least 2 referrals, and that would solve most of their problems. How many of you'd agree most of your problems would be solved with 2 transactions? Yeah, say yes? Yeah, we could just go get 2 real quick. So what I just decided to do is put small groups of people through this program. So I started testing it out about a year and a half ago, and I would individually put people through the program where they'd have to call me every single day for 7 days in a row and report what happened the day before. And then I would ask them, so what was your challenge? And then they would tell their challenge, and I would give them some coaching. I put 700 people through the process. And I've got all the empirical data, I've got all the evidence, I've tracked it all, we've put all the models to it, and we figured out exactly what has to happen over a 7-day period for you to get a minimum of 2 referrals. We're averaging 4 right now with this program, but we're guaranteeing 2. So if you just follow the program exactly the way it laid out, and you don't put any barbecue sauce on it, no ketchup on it, don't say, well, I want to try it this way, you know, that will destroy it, all right? You just have to follow it. Now, how many of you are really good at taking a good idea, making it your own, and it doesn't work? Could anyone think themselves right out of a fortune? Okay, so with this program here, there's no thinking required, just execution on this. So I'm going to give you the steps to it. The first step is this, is make a list of 50 people who know you and like you and trust you. 50 people. Now, be careful with this because we have a tendency to look at all the people who know us, like us, and trust us, and then we pick only the people who are the closest connections to us. And there's a fatal flaw in that, is the people who are the least connected to you know the most people you don't know. The people who are the most connected to you know the people you already know. Like, you know most of your mom's friends, but there are people that you know, but not that well, and you don't know anyone that they know. And the big opportunity is in the people they don't know, that they know that you don't know. So what I'm going to suggest is that you make a list of 50 people who know you, like you, and trust you, but if you can make it 50 people who are not your closest connections, you'll have your biggest results. Something happens, too, when you are working with people who are your strongest connections, when you're calling your sister, your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your best friend, is you have a tendency to get off script real fast. You call them up and you don't stay on purpose. You get stuck in small talk. Say yes? Yeah. So all I'm going to ask you to do is identify 50 people who know you, like you, and trust you. Now, would you check with the person next to you and see if they have the capacity to do that? Can you get 50 together? Names, addresses, and phone numbers? Yeah. Okay, good. Now, we're going to apply Now, if you don't have 50, if you got 30, do whatever you can. My guarantee is 2 referrals if you have 50. If you have less than 50, all guarantees are off. But I've had people who've had 30 names, and they've gotten 7 or 8 referrals. So, but I have only documentation for 50. But here's what you do, is you make a list of your 50 people, and then you write down their names. And then what we're going to do is we're going to phone them, text message them, and send a direct mail to them. And they're going to receive all 3 communications in a 36 to 48 hour period. It's called the law of compounding suggestion. It's very powerful when you understand that if somebody hears a message 3 consecutive times, the same message in a condensed period of time, it gets into the autonomic tumbler and it becomes something that they start to notice. Now, why do you think political campaigns, like we're having our political campaigns in the United States, they are just going to unleash advertising in the last couple of days? Because they know statistically, if you're undecided, that the last 3 messages that you heard before you walked into the voting booth automatically get pushed if you're undecided. They know that the law of compounding suggestion at the moment of decision is the one that wins over all the time. That's why it's so powerful when you understand how that advertising works. It's the messaging over and over and over again. So what we're going to do is we're going to call them on the phone. I'm going to give you the exact script of what to say. You're going to text message them. I'll give you the exact script. And then the note card, I'll give you the exact note card. The thing you can't mess around with is the script, the text, and the note card. You have to leave the words exactly the way that I've measured them out here for you. Because I've tested all of this out, changed them around, and come back and change them around, and I finally figured it out, exactly what you need to say. Now, this communication, the phone call, is a audible communication. The text message is visual, and the note card is kinesthetic. So you're communicating on 3 channels over a very short period of time to a group of people who know you, like you, and trust you. Preferably the people who are not the greatest connections to you, but they are connected to you. How am I doing so far? Can you do this? Okay, good. So as long as you're with me so far now, the next step would be is now we're going to call them on the telephone, all right? We're going to call them on the phone. Now, a couple of thoughts around this. Let me just give you my slide here. A couple thoughts there. Are the 3 things that have to happen. And this is what we're going to have occur with the 50 people. Number 1, they have to notice people who need your help. Nothing happens until somebody notices somebody who needs your help. I got to notice that. You got to notice a real estate agent who needs your help. You're sitting across the table from somebody who's presenting a contract on one of your listings, and you notice, you go, this guy needs help. Exit would be a good place for him. You notice that. Or you notice somebody who would really be a good real estate consultant. They're in a job that's disproportionate to their skill level. You have to notice that. You have to be aware of it. Well, your buyers and sellers have to notice other people who are thinking about buying or selling, who need your help. It's your responsibility to help people notice people. Number 2 is they have to think of you. It's not enough just to notice, they have to think of you. And then number 3 is they have to introduce you, cause some orchestrated introduction. So what our 3 communications are going to be on the phone, the text, and the note card is notice, think of me, introduce. Now, we'll put all 3 of those together into a simple campaign. Now, how many of you have always wanted a simple solution to a complex problem? Yeah. And one of the most complex problems is how can I go out and get some business right now? Here is the simplest, most elegant solution. It's taken me 26 years to figure this out, but you will love the outcome. Just love it. So you just have to follow exactly the way I'm going to lay it out here for you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to call them on the phone, and that's your script. Don't you guys get that? Okay, what are those? What's that say? If each letter represents just the first letter of each word, what would it say? Okay, that was a test. I'm curious. The next time you're in a conversation with a friend, family member, or a neighbor, and they mention they may need help buying a larger, more spacious home, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? I've said that no less than 35 times. If we go back and listen to the tape, I've woven that into this conversation in all different ways 35 times. So again, it goes like this. I'm curious. Everyone say it? Okay, now what your brain is doing right now, it's neuro-connecting right now. This is the way that the monks in Burma memorize long Sanskrit as they write out the first letter of each word. And then the brain wants to write out the whole word, and so the synapses cause them to wire together. So it goes, I'm curious, the next time you're in a conversation with a friend, family member, or neighbor, and they mention they may need help, and then you put the specific thing in they need help with, buying a larger home, selling their home, moving into a bigger home, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Now, I would love you to get that down exactly that way, because this is very powerful. All right, so let's try it, everybody. Go. I'm the. You're dying on me there. The shortest pencil's better than the longest memory. You might want to jot that down. I'm curious, I'm curious, I'm curious, I'm curious. Would y'all say it? Okay, now sound like you're really curious. Not really like, ring, 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 hello? No, that's yelling at people. I'd be like, I'm curious. Like, are you curious? Yeah, I'm curious. Hey, you know what? I'm curious. What's it say? What's T and T? The next time, the next time, the next time, the next time. The next time, future pacing, you're in a conversation with the three most important people, friend, family member, or neighbor, and they mention that they may need help. Not my help, they may need help. They may need help, and then put the specific thing they may need help in. They owe more on their home and their worth, and they don't know what to do. And then the key question is this. Boy, if you get this one down, this is the one that will open up the doors, a flood of introductions. Would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Okay, let's look at that. Would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Would y'all say it? Okay, now I'm going to put a pause before that. Let's try that. Would? Okay, now what I want you to do is embed the words feel comfortable. It sound like this. Would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Okay, now say it again, but this time tell me to feel comfortable. Go. That's the secret, because that's called an embedded command. So if you want someone to behave in a certain way, you embed the command. You say, hey, Bob, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? There's also, it's called the language ambiguity. There's two things in there. There's a question and a statement. I'm asking a question, I'm also making a statement. Would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Or you can say, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? When you don't embed it, you take out the command. If you want to really amplify your influence, how many of you are just sick and tired of telling your family they can't have the things that they want because you don't have the skills to get them? It's an interesting question. How many of your spouses are saying, when are you going to start to make some money? It's an interesting question. Now, did you hear the question? It's an evoking question. And so what I'm suggesting here is That's an exclamation. Okay. So try this. Okay, there you got it. And that's called training. I mean, that's what, professional golfers have to do over and over and over and over again. So under pressure, they're not thinking. Because when you get in trouble is when you think. You're going to get on the phone with some of these people, and you're going to start to think, and you're going to go, oh, I'm curious. I don't know what. I'm curious. I'm just curious. I'm curious. I'm curious. I went to the seminar. I got curious. That's all I know. So the time to prepare is now. So when you're on the phone, you're not thinking about it. You're just performing. You're just getting the job done. And so, ring, 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 ring. Hello. Now, here's the opening, which I'll come back to this in a minute, but here's the opening. You never talk to anyone who's not in a happy state. You never go into dialogue with people who are going against the flow of happiness. Like if they're moving towards angry, depressed, guilty, shamed, if they're moving in that direction, don't have conversation with them. The vibration frequency is too low. You won't get the outcome that you want. What you want to do is always meet somebody and then change the conversation in a happy direction. And the easiest way to do that is, and you have to test this before you actually have contempt for it. Contempt before investigation is the reason most people fail, is they say it won't work and they never even did it. But just try this. Ring, 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 ring. Hello, Bob? Hey, Bob. Yeah, it's Joe. Hey, Joe, what's going on? 2 reasons I'm calling. Number one is I just wanted to find out how happy you are. And number 2, offer you some help. And I promise you, it's a state changer, S-T-A-T-E. It changes state. Now, if they go, I'm not very happy. I just backed the car into the driveway and I hit the lamppost. You might say, not a good time. No, you're moving in the wrong direction. I got to go. No, gracefully disengage. But just try this. Ring, 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 ring. Hello, Bob? Yeah, it's Joe. Hey, Joe, what's going on? Well, I'm calling you for 2 reasons. Number 1 is, first, I just want to find out how happy you are. Find out how happy you are. Everyone say it? You cannot help but smile when you're asked that question. And as soon as you smile, it changes the state. And the next one is the text message. Now, if you're not text messaging now, I'm going to invite you into the 21st century. Hey, check in with the person next to you. Just ask them on a scale of 1 low, 10 high, how much of their communication is occurring through text messaging, right? 1 low, 10 high. Where are you at? Yeah. How many of you are above a 5? Above a 5? Yeah. Okay, good. If you're below a 5 right now, maybe it's because your client base doesn't text message. The facts are the people who text message are the people who have the capacity to influence the most people. If you want to read a wonderful book called Connections, and it's all about how networks get connected to one another, there's a beautiful piece of research that's been done all about text messaging and how this generation was a generation Y. What's the generation, the 16, 17-year-old, whatever it is, the generation T, the texters. Their chosen method of communication is text messaging. It's just their choice. And we want to blend in with that. But more importantly than that, text messaging catches people in real life. I'm walking down the street and I have to look at it. I have to respond. Email, I don't have to. Email gets clumped in with all the other junk mail, and I'm actually at choice. So I'm going through my emails. I can choose not to respond. Text message, I'm compelled to respond. Or think about it deeply in life's motion. I'm coaching some people right now that they put all their first-time home buyers into a Tatango account, which is a mass text messaging account. And as soon as a home comes up on the market that matches their description, a text goes out to these young kids, bam, it instantly results in, I want to see it. So they might send out, 60 text messages, the same one to all their first-time home buyers, all at one time. And, the address says, hey, check this out, it just went on the market. Boom, this generation, the first-time home buyer, that's the way they want to be communicated to. They're not waiting to get home to look at their emails, even though they can look on their PDA. But email, even on PDA, is clunky and cumbersome. Even I have an iPhone, G4, and it's cumbersome, and it takes time to load. But text, got me. And so if you want a relationship with me, you need to be in my cell phone directory, because then we start texting each other. And I probably text more than I'll call. How many of you are at that place? You probably text more than call. Yeah. So what I sat down with my partner, I have a language partner, his name is Dan Paris, and he's one of the really skilled linguists, just a wonderful young man. He works for our company, and he has spent his lifetime putting together words and testing them out to see which gets the best results. And after about 50 experiments, we came up with this text message. So this is the one that works. Now, how do we know it works? 75% compliance. Compliance means when they get the text message, they instantly respond back. So what you want is when you send a text, people send back a little K or smiling face or sure or okay, meaning contract, yes, agree. And soon as compliance comes back through text, like they've got it, you got about a 75% chance that this is the person who's going to introduce you to somebody. So here's the other part of that. The faster they receive the text after you hang up the phone, the more likely they are to comply. The longer you wait to send the text after you hang up the phone, the less likely they are to comply. So how many of you have some type of a smartphone, some smartphone device there? So do you have the capacity to have the text message already in? So when you hang up the phone, you just hit send. How many of you have that capacity? Then if you're serious about playing this game and you want the optimum results, do that with this text message. And here's the text message. Put their name in there, not my name, their name. Don't put Joe in there, put their name. And then a comma, Joe, now you can feel comfortable giving my time and expertise to the people you care about. Dash, O, period, K, period, question mark. Exactly like that. Now, this is pretty well researched, so I'm going to encourage you to just copy that as is. Now, for many of you got our main event live program with the 17 CDs and the 6 DVDs and the workbook. You got that. Also included in that is a website that you'll go on, you'll log in, and then there's an icon that says 2 referrals in 7 days. And I'm going to ask you to click on that, and then I've put all the tools in there for you, the scripts and the text message, a lot of the different tools that we've discovered that will help you do that. And then also there'll be a little invitation if you want to come into an accountability program where we put groups of 15 people where you come into a group and then you call in every single morning to be accountable to a coach for how many people you called the day before, how many text messages you sent, and how many no cards you sent out. How many of you believe accountability will increase your production? Yeah. And if you give us a chance to hold you accountable for 1 week on this program, we could do some amazing things. And that's all included in that $199 price. We'll take you on for 1 week of accountability where you come into groups of 10 to 15. So when you go into the website, you just click on that and find a group that would work for you. But what we found is that when you send this text message out, if they get it like immediately, you'll get a little one back. Okay. Cool. Sure. Thanks. Really? Smiley face, K. When you get it, you're going to go, oh, that's exactly what Joe said is going to happen. You're going to go, oh, that's so cool. And then you follow up immediately. Let me just check in here. Any problems with the text message? Anybody need it? Okay, good. Well, if they don't have it, then you can't do it. You know? Well, let's say you're on the phone and you're unsure. Am I calling you on a cell phone or a landline? Well, you're on my cell phone. Do you take text messages? No. Well, you're going to get your first. Okay, well, unblock it. I'm about to send you one. Have a dialogue with people. Invite them into the world, or take them off your list. For this campaign, because the opportunity to get business quickly will come from people who text. So keep that context. And then the note card, follow up with a note card. The note card says, Kevin, Bob, whatever their name is. And the next week or two, you're likely to notice at least 2 or 3 people who need my help. That is such a powerful statement when you just make the suggestion. And then you say, they are people whose families are expanding and they need more room, or they are people who are getting married and they want to buy their first home, or they are people who owe more on their home than it's worth, and they don't know what to do. I'm going to encourage you to put in 3 or 4 different suggestions of the type of people that they might be able to notice. And Kevin, when you notice them, would you please take out your cell phone, look up my number, and give me a call so we can talk about how you can introduce them to me. You will feel so good because you're helping a friend when you introduce me. Now, no business card. I'm going to even encourage you on this campaign, just for this one campaign, is not to use company stationery, just on this one campaign. There's something very powerful that when somebody gets a little note card in the mail, it looks like it's coming from grandma. How many of you know what I'm talking about? With a stamp and a handwritten address. And then when they open it up, and then the first thing they see is a company logo, it shifts their consciousness, not completely. Now, our results don't say differently. Just my awareness is that if they can get that feeling of opening up and then having an experience of you without first having the experience of the company on the note card, just for this campaign.
So you want us, maybe this is a silly question, but I just want to make sure, handwrite this 50 times?
Yeah, there's something also about handwriting a note. It says you took the time to do it. I'm not a big advocate for those pre-written campaigns because when you get them, you know that it wasn't done by you. And it has the thin clank of the unauthentic, just a very ding. How many of you know what I'm talking about? How many of you get a card from your insurance agent and you go, yeah. He's got to get the last name spelled right, for me to believe this, There's just this thin little incongruency. So if you take the time to handwrite it, so it's call, text, mail. Call, text, mail. Now, first day, do 3. Day 1, just do 3. And then day 2, do 3. 3. Day 3, do 4. Day 4, do 4. Day 5, do 5. Day 6, do 5. Day 7, do 6. And just do that right there. I think that's 39 calls or so, or up to 35 calls. You make 35 communications with people, you will find a minimum of 2 referrals. Now, here's the key. You cannot leave messages for people. So when a message picks up, all you say is, hey, Joe, I'll get a hold of you. I'll keep calling you until we talk. Thanks. Now, what happens after 3 messages like that? Oh, this is the 3rd time I've called. I will get a hold of you. Have a great day. Never apologize. Never say, oh, I'm sorry. Because as soon as you go into subservient position, what you want to do is keep your power. Don't lean in. Hey, this is the 3rd time I've called, and I will call you until I get a hold of you. I promise you, well, our research says after 3 messages like that, they'll call you. And they'll say, hey, what's up? Say, oh, man, I'm so glad that you called me back. Just 2 things. Number 1, just want to find out how happy you are. As little as this costs to make 30, 35 phone calls, follow up with a text, and follow up with a note card. What it will do for you psychologically, what it will give you is a sense of freedom and a sense of confidence and peace of mind. And then you'll get into a rhythm of some of the highest paid people that I coach. I have 50 people who meet with me every quarter in San Diego. You have to make $250,000 a year or more to be part of that group. And it's part of the ritual. Every one of them do 2 a day. A phone call, text, note card to 2 people a day, 5 days a week, 10 a week, 40 a month. 400, 500 a year by doing 2 a day. We call it complete communications. Do 2 complete communications a day, and I promise you, your income will be handled for you. I would say that the biggest problem is not enough communication, and the communication that we do have is incomplete. It's a note card, then there's nothing for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. A phone call, maybe a note card followed up, but not within a short period of time. So what's happening is people are not noticing, they're not thinking of you, and they're not orchestrating referrals. This condenses it into what we call the law of compounding suggestion and does a miraculous thing for you. So all in favor of doing that, say aye. Okay, check in with the person next to you and find out what are the chances that you're going to do it. Scale 1 low, 10 high. What are the chances you're actually going to do it? Okay, good. So, have you had a good time? Yeah, good. Did you learn something? Yeah. Will you do something with what you've learned? Yeah. And put those three together, and then it's been time worth spent. I just want to wrap up our time. I want to share with you a book that I was gifted. A good friend of mine, Dawn, dropped this in the mail to me on a birthday of mine. And it's called Yes, You Can Change the World. And it's one of those 100 and 304 page books that has a really strong